Yeah, all right, we got 7 o'clock. I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. All right, Sandra, you want to start with introductions?
Sandra Jones, alternate.
Robert Kelly.
Carol Martin, School Board Rep.
John Moran.
John Decker?
Tom LeVay.
Thomas Budkevich.
Jeffrey Morrison.
Michael Kelly.
All right, Owen and Michelle are both absent today. So you guys are stuck with me. All right, first thing on the agenda is minutes from the 6th. Does anybody have a motion?
Was it the 3rd?
The 6th, sorry, 3rd, whatever it was.
The third, yeah.
November 3rd?
3rd, yeah.
I would move that we approve these minutes from November 3rd.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Abstains? All right, the minutes are approved. All right, so today's agenda, is about the department heads, presenting their budget items that they want to talk about. We have no particular order, so you guys can choose straws, whatever.
Whoever wants to go home first.
Jump first, you get to go home early, right?
Well, not home, but. Good evening, Jay Vilchak, Chief Nottingham Fire Rescue. Thank you, folks. I'll set the bar. Want to jump right in? I'll highlight the changes between 22 and 23. I'm not sure what you have in front of you there.
We've got one CIP proposed, and then we have, it looks like the budget Excel sheet.
Yep, so we have one sheet that has,
CIP proposed, you want to talk budget, you want to talk CIP for the upcoming years, or all, or the above?
Your choice.
CIP is kind of benign right now, but, okay. Let's talk budget right off the start, if you have any questions, okay? I see what you have in front of you here. I don't know if that's gonna help. There you go. Okay. Line 198, that's where we'll start, right? I'll talk to the changes. 198 shows the biggest change for this upcoming fiscal year. It reflects 6 full-time employees. I'm currently staffed at 3, down from 1 in the last week. I was up to 4. I've got a 4th person now that's coming in January. I have an offer out for a 5th, so I actually have like 1 spot that I'm still interviewing for, okay? I hope to have them all filled by 1 January, and that's where we're going with that. So the biggest change there shows the salaries for 6 full-time, 6 days a week, 24 hours a day, 2 people on a shift, like we discussed last year.
Now, do you have an increase for,
And this will be the first time that we're fully staffed, full-time?
We've been fully staffed several times in the last 15 years, but fully staffed at 6, correct?
Right, that's what I meant.
Yes,
at
yes,
6,
yes.
At 6. I know you were
Correct.
fully staffed, but
Yes.
by the priority.
Correct, we have not been fully staffed. My budget last year was predicated on a goal that I'd be fully staffed by the last third of the year, and that had not come to fruition, okay? My latest loss came after a 3-week employment when one of my new full-time guys was hired by one of the neighboring towns at a 10% increase in salaries.
after 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yep, seems like,
It's time to train him, right?
not even, okay, not
do you
even.
have an increase for the per hourly rate for them? says $22 an hour, I don't know what it
That,
was.
that's an average, and,
They all make different, yeah.
they all make different, and that most likely should be adjusted to reflect the current market, okay? The market has changed again most recently, okay?
Now, does that reflect a raise at all? Or is that what it is right now?
That,
The average of now, or,
that actually, there were raises that went into effect as of the last selectman meeting, so that's even outdated as of now, okay?
okay.
Yes.
Now, you just mentioned that you feel like your hourly wage is low.
Yes.
compared to other. Do you have any data to support that, or, surrounding towns or whatever?
Not compiled right now, just job advertisements that I've received from other towns, that's what I was comparing it to.
I wish you did have that, because
Okay,
that could help us,
exactly, decide.
Because if you're low, I want to do something about that,
Yep.
but I can't speak for anybody else, but you have a hard enough time getting people in the first place, so.
Correct, trying to keep the good ones is a challenge also, so.
Yep. And so the 2022 budget did not include the warrant article, so that increase is kind of not real, that 100, because that,
Correct,
there was money from the warrant article that would be in there,
correct,
in the budget.
yeah, correct.
Well, there's the 300,000 in the fourth line on that page was added in there for the 2020 budget. But I don't know, that money we didn't collect, did we raise $300,000 from the taxpayers? We didn't, right? It was just to authorize spending over the next 2 years.
A third of it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's kind of weird because it says 300,000 in here for 2022 budget, and then, so when you look at budget change, it says negative 118,000.
Well, I think you have to take into account also, there's a reduction.
Overtimes and part-times and
Yeah.
stuff, yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's not much you can do about that because taxpayers approved it in the.
No, I don't have a problem.
Okay, the next line would be, line 200, a part-time salary, showing a 30% reduction, and that's based on being fully staffed with 6 full-time folks, and that roughly works out to 52 weeks of 48 hours a day for that Sunday coverage, at an average of $20 an hour, and plus another 250 miscellaneous hours for training, vacations, that sort of stuff. I would fill with per diem if I could, okay? Goals. Next increase is line 208 under dues, out of my control. Seacoast Chiefs, mutual aid organization that we belong to, has announced an increase in our dues for next year, from $420 per year to $1,000 per year.
That's a mandatory membership thing?
Yes, mandatory in terms of mutual aid by the Safe-C, by state law. If not, then you have to go out and execute mutual aid agreements individually with every town, and that would be cumbersome, risky, and, this gives us access to the entire, from Portsmouth up to, I believe, Farmington's in it right now, okay, so.
And the mutual aid calls, I think we learned last year, like you guys, when you do like a ambulance call to somewhere, it kind of gets billed and then we get essentially offsetting revenue back from that.
Correct, we do. We, when it's a mutual aid ambulance call, we don't, it's the transport organization that gets it. And this covers mainly fires though too, okay, and gives us resources that we don't have, so it gives us all that expertise and resources.
Also, you skipped over line 204, fire chief's salary. You do this whole job for $11,000 a year?
I was looking at that too.
That's awesome.
Okay, that's why, just be aware I'm not doing it forever, okay? It's my 16th year and it's,
Yeah, keep this guy happy.
no, I do it because I love the town, that's it, okay? Dues, keep on going. Oh, line 212, I'm showing a 52% decrease, and that's due to the fire incident reporting software that we discussed last year, that Red Alert program. We replaced a previous one called Firehouse, and last year's estimates, we got a better deal on doing that software on an annual license basis, so that's where that reduction came from.
It's the same software?
It's the same software, correct? Yep,
Wow, great.
yep. Okay. Line 213, physicals, I'm showing an increase, and that's to cover, the cost of doing the physicals have gone up somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 each. Every time we hire somebody, we have to send them for an NFPA physical, and we do have an immunization requirement for all our members. There's a battery of shots that, obviously, the cost keeps going up on those, so that's where that comes from. Okay. 32 on the uniforms, 40% increase because of our increased staffing. We have up from $350 to $450 a year allowance for uniforms for our full-time staff. And we also, for our part-time employees, we have a $100 allowance to pay for, usually, pants are what get destroyed, different things, okay? Line 40, there's the fuel line. I'm not sure what John's or the selectmen are gonna go with here. My estimate was based on not a guess, but a pretty good estimate of 1,700 gallons, a real good estimate of 1,700 gallons per year. I know what I used down to the 10th of a gallon. And the price is where the guess comes in. I set it at $6 a gallon, so. I've averaged 1,500 and some gallons over the years. I think you heard that story before, so I've got a little bit there, so.
Where are you guys getting the diesel?
It's commercial now, not commercial, it's COTS. It's either for fire trucks, we're either going to the Irving at the Circle, or to the Shell up in Northwood, because they're the closest ones we have for our station. The ambulance, we have much more options. We refuel the ambulance wherever we pass, because we go to like 5, 6 different hospitals, so whatever's convenient, whatever's the best deal also. We have more flexibility there. The trucks are a little more, we have to plan when we're gonna fuel the trucks.
Is the ambulance also diesel?
Yes, sir. The only gas, our Gator, our chainsaws, our boat are the only gasoline vehicles that we have. Everything else is diesel in our house. It used to make sense. Still makes
Yes.
sense, I mean, yeah.
What happened in 219? I noticed that you spent 22,724 this year, but you're budgeting 15.
We had a head gasket replacement on our 2005 Ford 550 Forestry, 6.0 Ford diesel head gasket, 23,000 miles. I've cried about that for a while. It's a problem with that
That engine.
that 6.0. We finally had to pay the piper on that one, the head gasket, so that was one of the overruns on there. Okay, so that was unplanned, that was a surprise early in the spring. Okay. The one right above it, 220, the equipment maintenance, I shown a reduction, because next, we're responsible for maintenance on approximately 18 AEDs throughout the town, in addition to the ones that we have on every piece of our fire apparatus, and the 2 that the police cruisers carry. The other ones in town, like the one in this building, the fire department, there's 2 in the school, the library, keep on going, the recycling center, the ball field here, the beach in the summertime. We're responsible for the maintenance on those AEDs, and that includes replacing the pads as they're needed, as we use them. God forbid we don't use a lot of them, but also the required replacement of batteries for those AEDs. And next year, the reduction shows that we have less that are going to require less battery replacements next year. And there's also 2 different price levels depending on what the AED is. So we track on when they expire. So
Right,
it's just-
expire. Don't the
yes.
pads expire too, I thought?
Pads do expire, yeah, about every 2 years the pads expire unless you use them, so that's included there also.
How long do the batteries last?
Battery, there are two different kinds in there, okay? And I'm not gonna make up a number on you, okay? I'd have to look at the list. You got me, John, okay?
I was just curious because, I mean, there's quite a few of them, obviously.
Yes,
And, you know, I don't know, I mean, and you try, you know, we probably bought most of them like in a big lump,
no,
no?
no, we've expanded, and I'll let you
Yeah.
finish, but I'll.
Yeah,
tell you.
but, you know, if we could kind of just have it on a rotating basis that we're
Yeah,
replacing them, I mean, but, you know, they probably don't last, they all probably don't last as long or the same amount of time if they're being used.
most of them have two type of batteries. One is a low voltage, almost a 9 volt, depends, we have two different type of AEDs, because we buy them from the state, there's a state contract, and we buy them for less than $1,000 for these AEDs, which is a pretty good deal. But there's two kind that we have in service, and they have different battery configurations, but the one battery, that we replace is relatively cheap. The other battery pack that it has to do with charging the capacitor, that's the high voltage one, that one's a little more expensive. And I don't wanna quote a 2-year, 3-year, whatever it is. Most of the time, they're replaced, also, when they fail, because they're tested monthly by my folks. So once in a while, you get a low battery indication that they don't last the lifespan. So I could look that up and find out what they are. There's two different battery lives on there, so. And I don't wanna throw a number out.
That's fine, I was just,
Yeah, batteries are funny. They're just go.
you know, I know, it's, yeah. Yep, okay, so, thanks.
Okay. 45 hydrant maintenance, 2K. I'm showing an increase, and that's to cover a contractor, and again, that's an estimate of my own to have a contractor do the site work to install a replacement hydrant on Kennard Road. 2 years ago, we bought the piping, and through COVID and other commitments, now I have to pay, and I don't want to throw to you. Originally, it was planned that Public Works Highway Department would install it, but they don't have the capability. I'm not gonna throw Sean under the bus here, but I've been told I have to get it done somewhere else because they don't have the capability, okay?
Is that something that we could use the COVID money for? Cause it's like a new expansion of infrastructure?
You'd have to look over my shoulder, okay?
John?
There's a wide variety of things you can use COVID money for. The selectmen have looked at some of the possibilities. They're, in general, not looking at small items like this.
Hmm. Small items add up.
It can be used to offset the budget. So
But this is like a one-time thing. This is not a normal hydrant maintenance thing. It's like a new one, right? Yeah.
Correct, it's a replacement. The one on Kennard Road is not reliable, okay, so. All right, 501 under hazmat, this is another one of the Seacoast Chiefs increase. They doubled the START membership, the START fee. START is the Seacoast Technical Assistant Resource Team. It's for hazardous materials. It gives us access to 24 hours, 7, a team of hazmat technician level and beyond, folks that are on other departments in the area, that they would come here and assist us with any hazmat incident. With Route 4, it's a wise investment, because otherwise the town could get hit with cost associated with having a contractor like, you know, I don't want to mention any names, coming out and have to clean up or mitigate any kind of hazmat. Typically, you probably go after the insurance company or the trucking company or whoever it happened, but a lot of times they go under and the town gets stuck with the cleanup costs for it. So this is a recurring cost. We belong to them for 15 years, but it's increased
It's like
significantly.
insurance policy, basically,
Yes.
additional.
Otherwise, yes. Okay,
Is that the same organization that's tied to the dues on?
yes.
Okay.
And there's one more also that's buried under here, under breathing apparatus. We also pay them a fee on our SCBA bottles, an annual fee. It's to use their charging system. They have cascade systems that on trailers. There's 3 different systems in the Seacoast area, 2 are in trailers, 1's in a van, that are pre-positioned that we request at a fire, and they come out and they refill our bottles, but we pay a, I don't wanna say a tax, we pay an annual fee.
or whatever.
Yes, it covers the costs of those trailers, okay, and the operators.
And that one's buried in the,
That's buried in the SCBA
207?
line. Yes, under the software, what number is that? 207, yes. Yep. Yeah, it's one of the several things that get paid under that breathing apparatus.
Yep.
Along with hydrostatic testing of the SCBA bottles, the flow testing, the semi-annual SR Cascade System air quality testing, that's in there, and any, fit testing for the firefighters to make sure that that's all in that same line also. Okay.
That's once a year, right, fit testing?
Fit testing is once a year, we usually do it in June, that's usually our target is June, we schedule it, yes. Okay,
It's a question on, forest fire,
yes,
227.
yes.
Is that kinda like a shot in the dark in terms of what the budget? 'Cause
Yeah.
I see it's all over the place, you know?
Yes, and I'll tell you what, this year, we're showing actuals, 2022 actuals.
Yeah.
We did get $1,439, $1,400 and some dollars reimbursed from the state for our Rocky Ridge fire back in the beginning of August. The state shared 50% on that cost, so that number should be offset by, we spent close to $3,000 on that 4-day fire between food and those type of supplies, and the state pays half of that, so.
Have we ever asked the state to kick in some money for like fire warden service for Pawtuckaway, since they make so much money off people coming in there and camping, and they're having, presumably they're the cause of forest fires and stuff?
No, sir, no, I haven't, we haven't, that would, no.
Does I've heard the fire department gets called to the campground often, how often is that?
Okay, it varies from year to year, both for medical and again, run metrics.
It's okay, I'm just,
Okay. How often? In the summer, it varies, okay? I think I'm gonna give you a rough number based on.
yeah, we won't
my
hold you to
estimates.
it, just,
In a busy year like this year, probably 10 to 12 times.
over the course
For
of the
medical
summer.
calls, over the course of the summer, yeah.
That's
Now, who
it.
pays for that cost?
Yeah.
That gets billed to the,
The state?
no, if that's a medical call, that's gonna bill to the patient,
Yeah,
patient.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, anything else, which besides wildland fires, it's pretty benign, we haven't had a motor vehicle accident there in a long time. We have searches in there, and that's, that is what it is. This year, I think we're up to around 4 searches or so, so, but again, that varies from year to year. I got all that data, I can bore you with that data, it's at my,
Yeah, just curious if, that the state park was using town resources in a heavy manner or a.
Disproportionate manner?
Yeah,
Certainly
matter what,
disproportionate to the property tax they
right,
pay.
right, it's
Yeah.
disproportionate, exactly, for that reason.
and again,
There's different, yeah.
it's kinda like anywhere you go across the country and you twist your ankle somewhere, you understand what I'm saying? It's like the people in Tennessee would say, well, I'm not paying for you from Nottingham.
You're from
you know?
New Hampshire,
You know what I mean? So there's kind of a reciprocity here thing going on, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
So I have a question about revenue and stuff. So with the increase in firefighter pay and everything across the whole state and everything, when you guys bill out stuff, are those numbers that you're supposed to get back in revenue, offsetting revenue, do you expect those to increase as well?
no, that 50%, the only revenue we get from the state,
No, not,
Okay.
sorry, not from the state. I mean like ambulance calls or rescue calls
Okay.
or something like that. When we get offsetting revenue, when we bill out to say another town or something, is that revenue expected to increase?
that billing rate is set locally by us, and it's reviewed on an annual basis, and, it was increased, less than a year ago. It's usually, the method I use for setting that rate is, using 3 insurance companies, ALS, BLS, ALS 1, ALS 2 rates, and BLS, rates, and add a 10% number to what that average is there to cover the billing, the overhead of our billing services. That's the way I usually adjust it, okay? If you look on a spectrum, and I don't want to shoot from the hip here, I've got some data from the Seacoast area, from some of the larger departments on what they bill, and they bill significantly more than we do. And I'm gonna go back to the strategy behind it, that billing for the ambulance. When that was set up, that was initially set up to cover the cost of replacing an ambulance. And since then, we've been able, and lucky enough for the last 15 years, to expand it to cover, knock on wood, all the operating expenses plus the replacement of the ambulance, with the exception of the manpower. We're not paying for the labor, okay? And again, we're not trying to stick it to the residents or the people in town. We're trying to keep it at that level that, A, it pays for the maintenance, the fuel, the supplies that are not, directly replaced by the hospitals, and a replacement ambulance. And we've been able to manage that at that level without really obscene rates, okay, so.
Yeah, no, I actually wasn't gonna say that you're sticking it to people. I was saying maybe you do look at raising it a little bit if it's higher in other towns, because just for some context on this, I was sitting in on the Board of Selectmen meeting earlier this week, and it actually came up, like, the way that the calculation for the tax cap works is it's a cap on the percent raise in the amount to be raised by taxation, which means you have to take the proposed budget and you have to subtract the anticipated revenue. And so if you can project out that, this type of revenue is gonna increase, let's say $10,000 or something, then that's $10,000 not towards the tax cap. So if you're trying to figure out, how to meet the 4% tax cap, if we can identify areas where town revenue is gonna go up, like increases in mutual aid fees or something like that, then that's something that can be accounted for by John
Okay.
to help them figure out the tax cap.
Those ambulance billing rates, they're not typically, and the ambulance expenses are not typically reflected in the budget here anywhere, okay? I project what we're gonna need, and that's what we build our warrant article from, to say that that's how much money we want to, be able to withdraw from that special revenue fund, okay? So these lines here are not directly affected by those ambulance billing rates, okay? I think that's what I want to say there, okay? All right.
Oh, if I can ask, how many phone lines do you guys have?
We have 3 phone lines in the station. 3 landlines, 2 business lines, 1 fax line, the fax also, okay? I'm gonna give you 4. There's another one for the alarm system, okay? So. Okay. Next line that I'm responsible for is under 244. I'm Emergency Management Director.
What's the first 4 numbers?
429, 4290, 4240, 4240. No, it's 4290, I'm sorry, sir. 244. And, this is the first time I see it. I guess I'm in line for a pay cut. I can't speak to it because that's news to me. Line 244. I must be doing a wonderful job. I'm sure that's an error.
Hope so.
It's surprise, surprise.
What does emergency management do that fire and rescue Why is it outside of that?
Because it's more encompassing, it includes things like school safety, all the issues along with, you know, school, weather, more weather-related things like the floods, the storms, the ice storms, wind, a lot of planning portions of it, that's where.
What
okay.
percentage of that do you think is the school?
Okay. 30%,
Okay.
30%, okay, and that's again, okay, 30%. So, other than that, everything looks like it was the same on that, except for that, that one there. Okay? I'm sure that's an error.
The rest is just the Nixle stuff, so that's. Okay.
Okay?
Anybody have any questions?
CIP.
Oh,
CIP,
yeah,
I-
CIP stuff, yep. Yeah, yeah.
Let me see if I could translate this into what I know about the CIP. 2022, 2023. Okay. All right, for 2023, let me pull it out here. Yep. Okay. Okay, thank you. That's that one.
It's its own piece of paper.
sheet here. Yeah. It's underneath that. Yep, that one there.
Jeez.
65 years old, that's the first pay cut I ever got. I'm kind of reeling from that.
We'll look into that.
Yeah, we're,
Yeah, that's- I
Probably
mean,
should have noticed that when we were looking at this the other night.
2023. Okay, that's the same one there, I just want to make sure. 2023, I have requested for $100,000 capital reserve fund deposit. The capital reserve fund covers the replacement of apparatus, fire apparatus, and also is expanded to cover the SCBA purchase back in 2019, and it covered that large expense.
And that's done through a warrant article, right?
Correct,
Yep.
correct, on an annual basis. I try to project where we should be in terms of, you know, for balance for our next large purchases.
Is that a single warrant article, or is that,
Single warrant article every year, right? Once per year?
yeah, well, that's what I mean, for
Yes.
the next year.
Yeah, since about 2008, we've been trying to level fund those purchases, and we were successful, you know, making some large purchases, like our last engine for over $500,000 was paid from that fund, in addition to the SCBA's for another $150,000 from that fund, so that worked out well.
Okay, so it was Article 8 last year.
In the future, and, you know, those out years, you'll see it increases out in 2025 and 2026,
Yep.
just for,
That makes sense. Okay.
round purposes right now for the next, large purpose for, you know, large purchase, okay? Okay, flooring replacement and miscellaneous repairs. This is one of the,
Are they in the budget or no?
they are not in the budget, no.
So would that be another warrant article, or would that be worked into the budget?
Hey, John, can I just make a point that, the CIP committee has not met, and there haven't been any decisions made about what's gonna be warrant article and what's not. And that it's really kind of the job of the CIP
Okay, that's fine, it was more of a question, so, nobody knows yet, that's fine.
Okay,
But that's your request for this year?
correct. Along with the doors.
Yep.
The station does not have any safety systems on the overhead doors. And we've had one near miss and 2 incidents with the doors coming down on the apparatus. So we're looking to have systems installed to prevent that in the future. The most recent was a windshield on the forestry was destroyed because the door had reversed and came down at that time. It's a safety issue now. We've been warned twice. It's time to take care of that, so.
And if we hit the, one of the fire trucks, that's gonna be a lot more expensive than a windshield on a pickup, right?
This is true. This is true.
So would you just like roll these two things together into one warrant article?
I
Just-
don't think so. I'd recommend that if it's gonna be a warrant article, let the town decide on what's most important, and 1, 2, or whatever. I'd like to be fully transparent in those, okay?
So just because the CIP hasn't met yet, and that means a member from this board sits on the CIP and all that, and due to all the people we're gonna visit tonight that are with us, I think it'd be more prudent that we stick with this budget and just go over this, cause it will come back and we will have a full meeting on what the CIP is. You know, cause there's things that he's discussing tonight, or what they could all discuss, what could be drastically changed by the CIP committee. So just.
Yeah, but he might not be back here when we hear from the CIP committee. It's nice to ask him here.
Have input with the CIP committee on what he's putting in there, so we should be able to, whoever's sitting on this board and the committee should be able to reiterate
Yeah,
what he's talking about.
I think it would be nice to hear what their request is, and they just leave it at that. We don't have to talk about it too much, but to hear that request would be kinda nice since they're here.
Okay. I could shorten it up. We can go out to 24, besides the $100,000
Yeah,
capital.
yeah, I wouldn't worry about those, I would just worry about the 2023 year,
Okay,
that's all.
all right.
All right,
Next.
anybody, any questions for Chief Jay? All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you. I hope to do a
Yep.
better job next year.
Yeah, you might, hopefully you get a pay raise.
Well, he did, you gave yourself a few $100s.
All right.
Thank you, folks. Have a
Yeah.
good night.
Have a good night.
Yep.
How you doing?
Hello, Sean McLean, Public Works Director.
Highway, starts on the bottom of the page. Good.
Highway?
Yes.
Highway.
58?
258, it looks like, yep.
So a lot of my increases in this year's budget are driven by inflation and fuel costs based on outside vendors that we deal with to get the products that we use. I can start from the top, I can answer questions, whatever you prefer to do.
Well, this is the first we're seeing this, so,
It is.
yeah, we just got it like when we walked in the door.
Okay. Then we start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning.
Highway salary, full-time employees, it represents 5 employees' yearly salaries without overtime. 4 hourly and 1 salaried position of the 5.
How many employees are there currently?
As of today, 4 full-time and 1 salary, so we're fully staffed.
Okay.
The overtime line reflects increases in salaries that were given throughout the year where the base rates were increased. The part-time salary is level funded. We only used $1,489 of it last year, but it's all contingent on weather for that position.
Plowing.
Plowing is what we use this position for.
Is the overtime from plowing too? I mean, is that like something that I see you spent like 21,000 this year? Is that from being short-staffed and having to have people cover up, or you've been full staff all
No,
year?
that's just the overtime that was paid out to the town employees. And the increase represents the hourly increases that were given, because the overtime rate is double time and a half. Moving on to mowing and vegetation. That's a level funded line. That's roadside mowing and not weed control. It shows that we haven't spent anything, but the bills have come in, and my budget sheet isn't updated. I don't know if you have an updated budget sheet that reflects the money spent out.
Says year-to-date is $14.95.
Okay. So some of those bills have come in and have been paid out.
We used quite a bit more than that.
Hired highway equipment, this is for contractors that we use. Mainly, the increase represents the snow plowing increase and the fuel cost that has risen over the year has generated hourly increases for the contractors that we use to plow snow. The heavy equipment parts is level funded. Highway hired equipment took, we dropped that down to 25,000, and that's just been based on the amount that we have spent out of that line. So I thought that we could try to make us some savings and lower it at $5,000.
Just a question on that one. I noticed in 21 you spent, 12,
Yeah.
and so far this year 13.
13, yes, there's new bills in, so it's more, the last bill just, it's about 20,000, because the last bill just came in around 7,500.
That'll bring you up around 20,000?
Yeah.
So you expect that to go up to 25,000 next year?
Oh, that was a decrease of,
That's a decrease of 5,000
Oh,
from,
no, I'm looking, you just said, talking about actual this year, it's gonna come out at 20,000. I'm just wondering why we don't budget, what the actual cost is this year.
I'm giving you a wag on what the actual is right now.
Yeah, but that's a good place to shave 5,000 off if we need to get under the tax cap there.
Sometimes I struggle with budgets in that everybody wants to talk about, budget from one year to the next, and I'm looking at that actual, number. I know there's 2 months to go, but some of those line items are way, way down. And it's like, and I can't ignore that, personally, so.
Let's see. Highway equipment maintenance, we did that. That's level funded. Highway supplies is increased. That's hand tools, welding supplies, small equipment. The big increase on this line is $8,000 that I put in for a pressure washer steam cleaner to replace the existing one that is failing at the garage.
Sorry,
What is it, steam clean, just like a pressure washer?
Yeah, it's a steam cleaner, it's a pressure washer.
Like the equipment and such?
It's to clean the equipment, especially in the wintertime, to remove the salt. We've had a lot of issues.
Which in effect generates savings in the long run, because you don't have the rust damage.
Right, so a lot of the problem with these new trucks is the DEF system in it, and with all the components for it are underneath the truck, and they need to be taken care of in such a way that they're clean and salt neutralized, because it's like $3,000 to $4,000 to replace these DEF pumps. That it's a fuel additive.
Which makes the $8,000 for the pressure washer a savings. In the
Correct, yep.
so just to jump back to highway equipment maintenance, did you say it was overfunded at 60,000? It looks like it's around 40 or 40
I'm not
or 50
saying it's
left.
overfunded, I'm level funding it.
So using the same number as the last few years?
Yes, and the reason that I suggest staying with that is because you could have a transmission or rear end go in one of these 10-wheel dump trucks that will set you back thousands and thousands of dollars for the repairs.
Going back, we only see back to 2021. Do you know what it was in like 2020 or 2019?
No, I don't.
Did it ever get up to like 60,000?
I believe that number's been level for those years. I would have to get back to you on 2019.
And 20, yeah.
Let's see, highway culverts, level fund in that line. There's a couple more bills that have come in, but that's a fair number. The highway sign we dropped that by $500 just based on the amount of money that we've been spending for this year.
Did all the E911 street change stuff, did that all go through essentially?
I think that came out of a different fund.
Okay.
Because if that was the case, this number would be, way different.
Yeah,
So,
I was wondering if that's why it was so high this year.
No, that's just for supplies, and once again, it's the inflation cost, it's buying it from the vendor, it's, the post and the hardware and all those things that go with putting up a sign. A stop sign alone to a high vis or retroreflective to be MUTCD compliance is $60 a sign. So we put up anywhere from 18 to 24 of those at any given year.
Do they get replaced on like a set time basis or just when they are no longer effective?
It's when they're no longer effective, when graffiti has damaged them, that they have to be taken down because there's been profanity and things of that nature have been drawn on these things. So, yes, and the retroreflective part of itself does wear out.
So, I don't mean to go back, but hired equipment plowing, how do you get billed? I mean,
How do I get billed?
You guys are like
How do they
hourly
bill
or
you?
something?
They bill me, each contract is different. They're pretty much trying to do every month. They send a bill in after.
No, I mean, what's it based on?
It's based on hours worked on an hourly rate.
Okay, and that takes into account the fuel costs?
Yes, they get us, yes, that hourly rate that we pay to the contractors, they're responsible for the fuel, the cutting edges, and breakdowns for the vehicles.
Do you see a difference amongst contractors? Are they vastly different? One contractor, how much they charge an hour versus another one versus?
It depends on the size of the vehicle and the equipment that is outfitted on that vehicle that we're using.
Okay. So there should be somewhat of a standard rate,
There
depending
is.
on the size of the vehicle.
It's based on the size of the vehicle, yes.
Jumping back briefly to the culverts, is that maintenance of culverts or is that like adding new culverts?
That's maintenance and replacement of existing culverts or new culverts. Part of culvert replacement and why we keep the cost at that I usually replace culverts that were in the road paving schedule for that year. You need to replace the infrastructure underneath before you put that down. So those culvert costs I'm absorbing through the road reconstruction line in the warrant article. So that $5,000 is for culverts outside of the scope of the paving that we're doing for that particular year.
Sounds like that's probably not something COVID money can go towards.
I guess a question for both John and you is talking about culverts. Well, we took in a number of roads recently, mostly over by the lake. Has anybody projected out in terms of, are there gonna be culverts needed or replaced or?
It's gonna be on a per basis needed, if needed to be replaced. We're not going out looking to say, let's go out,
I'm just asking.
No, I'm just saying, it's I hope we're doing on a, if we see it's damaged and it can't be replaced and it's not functioning properly, then we address it there.
We just spent
We're not
40,
looking to go and spend it.
we just spent what, 40K on one?
That's remember, that's draining the North River, that's not just a.
No, I
regular-
know,
Right.
I know. But that wasn't in the budget though, was it?
No, because we didn't expect it to fail, it failed.
Yeah.
We don't wanna blame it on somebody for failing, but it wasn't due to normal traffic, let's say that.
Now, where would
But it's
that,
also a very old culvert.
where would that come out of?
Well, that's what we're discussing, how we're gonna,
How you're gonna find the money.
How we're gonna.
Yeah,
figure out how
okay.
to pay them, so that might fall under the ARPA fund.
Okay,
That's where we try to go, is these big expenses like that, using it for ARPA instead of using $1,000 doesn't affect your tax rate as much as a $40,000. So when we decide what we wanna do with the ARPA money and how we decide that it's the best way to be spent for the people of the town,
yeah,
this is where we look at why. We're not just gonna start throwing the money away at little tiny costs when some big infrastructure comes in there. You know, you might think it's okay to say, sure, let's put 2,000 here, 2,000 here, but then, you know, if a $15,000 project comes up and you just spent it on 6 little 2,000s,
Well, the money's all
Yeah,
fungible,
the
right? I
large
mean,
fund.
it's all the same, it's, the
Do you have a
money's
time frame
fungible.
though?
wow.
I thought there was a time frame. Isn't there a time frame?
Yeah, we still have till the end of next year, so I mean, we're not in any rush to, I mean, we have still this year and next year.
Okay.
Yeah, but then, you know, if you get to the end of next year or something, you're gonna be like,
Oh, well,
oh, what
why
can we
don't we
spend
spend
this
it?
on? Let's do something
Scrambling.
crazy.
Well, let me say, no, we're not gonna scramble. There's plenty of ways for us to spend it. We're trying to find the proper way and the right way to spend it. We're not about to do
Right,
anything
like
foolish.
sprinklers.
All right, moving on, highway sand and gravel and stone, that's a 10,000 increase, that's based on, suppliers' cost, that's a fuel cost driver. That's a process to make this material that we're using. The number that's reflected right now on the actuals, doesn't represent, the current bills that have come in.
Sand, gravel, and stone, do you guys go get that from the quarry, or does that get delivered?
Sand, we could probably strike out of that, but the gravel and the stone, it comes from a quarry that we go to.
Is that something, is the town able to go pick it up? Would that save
Yes,
any
that's how,
money?
we're saving significant money by doing our own
Okay.
trucking.
That was my question.
Salt, that's an increase of 22,000 this year. That is based on an actual 1,700 tons annually at $72.07 a ton.
what did it cost last year for a ton?
That was $68.
Is the town using that much more salt, or is that?
No, the
is it
cost
just
is,
that much more
Just
expensive?
the cost going
the
up.
cost has risen significantly. 2 years ago, we were paying $48 a ton.
That's crazy, huh?
So you said it was 68 a ton last year?
No, 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago. Okay.
Well, no,
mean,
no,
that's a six-
68 was last year, 40, excuse
Yeah,
me.
68
Yeah, you said like 40.
68 to 72 would be like a 6% increase.
Yeah, that's
So we're seeing 22% increase.
That must be more usage then.
It's based on the usage. Well, our actual usage number is between 15 and 1,600 tons annually. But I'd like to go a little bit more so that we place orders ahead of time. The order for this winter has been placed with the salt company.
Is there any difference between the salt and brine?
The brine?
Do you guys put brine on the roads?
No, we don't have the equipment to make the brine, first of all, and we don't have the equipment to apply
Is
it.
the brine just made out of the salt?
It's different chemicals, there's magnesium, there's calcium, there's salt, there's things that are done in dilution factors, and you put it into a tank, and you put it with a sprayer, and you drive around.
Does it cost more or less than using salt?
The startup cost is a lot, and from my experiences and what I've seen, for this town, it wouldn't be the right application. I think that we do a very good job of having bare roads within a short time of the last snowflake.
Yeah, you guys do a good job. I'm just wondering what other alternatives there are.
Well, it's based on number of storms too. You can't control that, you know what I mean? It's-
Oh, I do all my best to get carbon out there so we get some global warming, less storms.
Well, it's working because we saw a lot more ice last year. And that's where your salt is the most effective, because sand's not gonna get rid of the ice. Education and workshop, I've increased that line, that's for employee training. Employees are taking advantage of the training now. We were in shutdown with training for 18 months or so, and it's picked back up. The uniform and cleaning, that's level funded. Fuel, I'm level funding. I'm not having an increase based on the actual numbers that have shown up as of year-to-date when I did this. And telephone is, that's telephone and Wi-Fi. We just recently put Wi-Fi into the garage on Flutter Street.
How many phones do you guys have?
One. Landline at the shop? Yes, one.
So, how come it's $1,800 for one phone? The fire department has 4 phones for $2,200.
I don't know, I'd have to ask Betsy, or I don't have the answer for you.
That is a good question.
That has internet and Wi-Fi in it.
They don't have a separate internet line?
Internet and Wi-Fi in it with the phone.
Okay. And this is over at the the thing on Flutter Street?
Correct.
How many gallons of gas or fuel do you guys use normally?
I didn't hear you, sir.
How much fuel do you use normally? How much diesel, how many gallons diesel and regular gas?
That all depends, and that's to do with a snowstorm, the hours it runs. The wintertime, we consume the most fuel. So a 10-wheel dump truck gets approximately plowing snow 3.5 miles to 4.5 miles a gallon. They have approximately 50 gallons on. We fuel up every 8 hours.
Given the increase in the gas and diesel, how are you maintaining to hold the budget?
Because the way that the vehicles run, wintertime is when they're working the hardest, any time of the year, because they are, the weight they're carrying with the front plow, the wing, they have 10 tons of material that they're constantly carrying around. So all that added weight makes, and the work they're doing pushing the snow is using the fuel. Where in the summertime and things, we're just running the trucks with the gravel to the job site. We don't necessarily run every single truck. We run a few in the summer because we don't have the staff to go into them as we do in the wintertime, because one person will be in a piece of equipment, another person will be doing in a pickup or something, doing the York raking, and then we have 2 trucks hauling, things of that nature. So that offsets the amount of fuel consumed.
Right. Okay.
Engineering and consulting, that's level funded.
Why the big jump from 2021 to 2022?
It was a big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 to 20.
Went from 5,000 to 20,000.
We got 10 more miles of
Lake roads.
road, that's all around sensitive areas, which could be the lake, and designated river sources where, under the CCM licensing of the staff, we are allowed to work within 250 feet of a designated river. So we're outside contractors, and then being so close to a water body as Pawtuckaway Lake, we had to have engineering and permits filed. So those are all things that have to be done by,
So that was a lot of stuff related to the increase was related to the taking on the lake roads?
yes.
And then, was that a lot of one-time work? I mean, is it anticipated that there's gonna be as much, if not more, work in
Depends
those
on
areas?
what happens and what needs to be repaired over there.
I guess that's maybe a question for John. You said you weren't planning on doing stuff, right?
Yeah, we have to budget for it.
Well, there's no road standards anymore, right? So it's not like we have to bring anything up. I'm just wondering if we still need 20,000 in there.
Right, I mean, all those things were being done before, so I don't know why that engineering and consulting went up.
I think it was a one-time thing for taking on all these new roads and unknowns and what are we gonna find and that type of thing. So I think that's a place where we could probably cut 5,000.
Well, our road practices on those have changed from how we used to do things too.
Yeah.
Where it used to be, there wasn't really any standard of what we did, it was just, so.
Yeah.
We're practicing, you know, proper way.
Yep. I'm just looking for places to shave off stuff.
But why not?
How come vehicles line disappeared? It's 278. It's got no value in the proposed budget. Does that mean we're getting rid of that line?
Had a history to it somewhere along the line that something was in there that's not.
All right, then we're getting rid of it.
Then, of course, the 300,000 in the road maintenance line, that's level funded. Now moving to solid waste, if you don't have any questions.
Is there a difference between highway contracted road maintenance and shim seal coat, or is that just the same thing?
It's the same thing.
Okay.
One of them actually is a warrant article. We do 300,000 for a warrant article, and then we have 300,000 in a line item.
So 280 and 281 are different things, or is that the same thing?
That's the total, that's the,
The warrant article one's not in here, then?
All right,
Okay.
so,
Did you use the full 300 this year?
pardon me?
Did you use the full 300,000 this year?
Yes.
yeah, cause it's still reflecting 85,000.
We just paid a bill for $445,000
Yeah.
on one paving bill, so that used up the warrant article and went towards this, and there are some other bills like that that they don't bill as timely as you would expect.
And then there was some discussion, jumping to the top of that page, the highway mowing and vegetation control.
Yeah.
There was discussion at the Board of Selectmen meeting about cutting that in half. Would that have a disastrous impact, or would it be more of a aesthetic impact?
No, we haven't decided to do that yet.
But there was discussion about it. Yeah, I mean, the initial discussion was getting rid of it completely. I think that was your idea, and then it came down to, the discussion was that it would be cut in half.
But again,
The highway mowing and vegetation, yeah. I'm just wondering, since you're the expert, if we cut the mowing budget in half, and the stuff got mowed half as often, presumably, would that be like disastrous for the roads, or
That
would
would
that be?
catch up to you in a short amount of time, and that roads would grow in, and knotweed would present itself again, and then would do what it did before we started controlling it 2 years ago, and it would come into the roadway.
So is the mowing to control the knotweed and stuff more so than just what we're
The
thinking?
the mowing is to create line of sight, so vehicles can see. The knotweed is sprayed with a chemical, and then after it sits and is dead and is black, as you probably have seen black stuff on side, then the roadside mowing will mow it down. But it can't mow any knotweed that is alive.
It comes right back.
Comes back, it
I've seen
spreads,
this,
it does, it's damaging. Anything else on the highway?
I would think if you don't mow for any length of time, things start to grow and get beyond a size where reasonable mowing is possible.
Right, and we will stick out, cars will hit it if, you're passing, two cars are passing, one's larger than the other, they get over, they get hit with branches and things of that.
I'm just thinking even trees start growing into power lines and.
Well, and the other thing is when it snows, the canopy will come in, which will hit our mirrors on our trucks. A truck mirror on a Mack 10-wheeler is $300, and things of that nature happen. So the roadside mowing is critical for line of sight, but for vehicles and winter maintenance as well.
How often do you do like all the roads in town like 3 times a year, or is it a
So
spot
the
thing?
mowing schedule is getting to that where everything's gonna be done, but we are playing catch-up from years that it hadn't been done. So we didn't have the funding in the beginning when I first took over to do as much as we're doing now, and we have broken it out into sections, and we're nearly completed with everything being done. And that now, this coming year, the whole town should be able to be gone through for what the budgeted amount is.
And that's the plan to kind of just,
That's the plan. And then the knotweed cost, there may be a little bit there will be savings in that as you keep up with the maintenance to do the spraying. I mean, we first started that was at 3,600, and we just dropped it down this year to, I think, 2,000. And we have literally have killed 98% of the knotweed in this town. And then we're on the next year, we're gonna hit it again, but there's not gonna be that much, so that bill will come down. And as long as you keep up with the maintenance, you'll have a more manageable number on that.
What percent of this budget for mowing and vegetation control do you think is the knotweed control?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I'd have to go look.
Rough guess?
Though knotweed control is probably 15%.
I wonder if that could be some, if we're gonna keep doing invasive species control warrant article, then maybe some of the money from that could be used for knotweed control. It is an invasive species.
The solid waste. It's an increase of 14,000, that reflects, pay increase for, people at the, 4 employees at the recycling center.
What'd they get for an increase? 17%?
That, yeah, that's what it equates to.
So each person got 17%
Each-
increase?
It was, they were hourly increases from $2 an hour to $6 an hour. So there was one $6 an hour increase, and then 3 $2 an hour increases.
How many positions are there?
4,
How many are filled?
3.
Has it been underfilled for a while?
Just recently.
Is it possible to get along with 3? Are there things that can be done that could reduce the amount of man?
We do that during the Thursday and Friday, but Saturdays, we need to be staffed with 4.
I mean, like in the process. So like the way for example, like the plastic bottles, there's like bags, and then the bottles are thrown into the bags, and then presumably someone ties the bags up and takes them somewhere else. Versus if we were to go through the one time of expense of having a very large dumpster, like semi-truck size thing that everybody threw their bottles into, and then that just got hauled off when it was full, would that save man hours?
It's the marketing of the plastic, because we're separating it out from clears, number ones to colors, so we get different rates for different colors. That's why they put in the bags that they are, then they're taken and stored until, the clears are the hardest thing to get an abundance of, to go and bale. And then we bale, and then we store them.
Because I've experience with a previous recycling center, and there was no one there, and plastic bottles were done with 2 semi-truck sized dumpsters, essentially. They're like mesh sized, and you would go up a little set of wooden stairs, and you'd throw your clear bottles, soda bottles into one, and your milk jugs into the other, and it would take, a month or so for those to fill up, and then a truck would just come and haul them away. And it seems like that would be a lot less man hours involved.
That would be a startup cost. We would have to have a roof constructed or something. You have to keep these materials dry and out of the elements, and not have water in the containers, and we're not set up with any roof systems.
They didn't have any roofs on them there, and they were doing that for 20 years. So, I mean, I don't know if it affects the price you get for them. Do people pay much for the plastic these days?
Plastic is
buyers?
all marketed out by the NRRA. They search the best price for us, but what's happening now is back to fuel cost, and the truckers aren't making any money, so.
Yeah. I
That's,
mean, like, so we would get less revenue if we sell the bottles and they're not hand sorted, they're rained on or something like that, right?
yes,
But I mean, how much money are we getting
I
for the
don't,
bottle? Like what, so if we don't have them hand sorted and everything, we get less money for them. But I'm wondering, there's a large cost in man hours to sort all that plastic, and if it only results in, $100 extra revenue, but you're spending 1,000 in man hours, then it doesn't really make sense to do.
the sorting is done by the people that go and get rid of their plastics. They put it in the proper bag, and then
Right.
all the bags they're doing is thrown into upstairs in the storage, so there's not that much labor that goes into that, other than the baling of it. So, I mean, those are things I can get back to you on. I can look into that a little thoroughly. I mean, we're a dual stream, we're not a single stream too.
Yeah.
So I'd have to understand if
people
that
are- yeah.
recycling center was a single stream, then that would change the rules for everything.
Then we'd be like no revenue on the materials.
Correct.
It would cost probably.
Yep.
I think with the amount of, the decrease in buying of recycled materials from China and stuff, and the prices are so low, and I think some of the stuff you have to pay to get rid of, that it doesn't make sense for people to be handling this stuff and wasting any time sorting it. Just if we can move towards more self-service, less manned, operations, I think that would be good.
I think they are though, Tom. I mean, aluminum cans used to be inside, now they're outside.
Yeah, I think it's a good
Throw 'em.
change. Same thing with
Cardboard
paper, I
used to be
noticed.
inside, now it's outside, so that's two items that,
Yep.
you know, it's getting self-service basically, so. They're moving there, that direction.
Yep,
feel.
I think it's the right direction to move in.
Next line is landfill mowing. That's level funded. That is mowing the cap of the landfill, and that's under the permit for the closure of that.
Why'd they go up so much? It's the same amount of area, right?
It's still the same, $1,000 annually.
No, I mean, in 21, it was 450, and then went up to 900, this year. And I'm like, it's the same size area, just
Right,
why
so
the cost increase?
I can't, I don't have the, I'd have to go back and look at the
Are we going
mowing
slower?
records and see if something was, it's done twice a year. I don't know if that was, if there's some sort of a typo there or something.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
But it's done twice a year.
It's not a lot of money, but it's,
Have you ever explored using, inmate labor for this?
That went to the wayside with the COVID and the pandemic. We have tried to do that, especially Courtney and I have tried to arrange stuff to do cleanups, and hasn't been very successful at all. Courtney can speak a little bit through that. Well, she can't hear me. She'll be,
Well,
you can ask her when
I'll
she's.
ask her about it when she
Yeah,
comes up.
all right.
Because certainly like mowing sounds like something that could be.
We don't have the equipment to give them to use it. So,
liability, or
pardon?
the liability?
Just equipment.
The liability, yeah, there too as
So
well.
we're paying someone to mow it with their own equipment?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we hire a local
How much it would
contractor.
cost to just get our own equipment for it? Is that something we could use elsewhere too?
I would let Courtney talk to you about that. I think she's done some homework on that.
All right.
The testing, that is there's a $5,000 deduction in that for this year. That is at the number I was given by the NCMA, the engineering company, does all the testing for the facility and around the facility for the PFAS and other associated things that go on with water contamination concerns.
Is that for the recycling center, or is that for the old landfill?
That's, well, it's both. It's that whole area, the landfill and the recycle center are the same piece, so.
Right.
And then it's broads out, there's certain areas downstream within the aquifer that need to be tested.
I just noticed the amounts going down from 7,000 to 5,000. I'm wondering if that's like a tapering off thing from the landfill's page or something.
I don't have the answer for you on that, but yes, things are trending downwards. Collections, disposal fees. There's an increase there of 21,000, 10.8%. The average is 18,000 a month to dispose and haul of the cans and everything that goes into the recycling.
Which item is the most expensive thing to get rid of?
Which item that would be, I would say, it's right there, MSW and the bulky waste and the construction demolition debris is the big thing. I mean, they all have their own little quirks about what the costs are. The paper, the trucking alone to get rid of the paper is $900 compared to the trucking for the other cans at $375. It's just because of the distance it goes.
What about furniture and stuff like that?
Electronics, yes, we pay.
I know we're collecting fees for that,
We
but
collect fees for that, it just offsets the cost, but I don't have an actual number for you right now on electronics. This is all figured into what this 18,000 is. We don't dispose of electronics every month, but it's part of the equation.
The paper, the cost to get rid of the paper, is that more or less than if you were to just send it to the landfill of all the other trash?
It would be more for us because we would have to have another compactor to take up that extra
Volume. Yeah.
volume of trash.
But the disposal of the paper, if it went to the landfill, would cost less than recycling it, wherever it goes.
I don't have the answer for that. I would have to get back to you on that. That would come under an MSW, so it would be comparable.
Is that the
heavy.
biofuel places can't burn that stuff? Or is that maybe where it goes?
The paper? Or
Yeah, the biomass, the paper,
it's recycled, and it goes to Wilmington, Mass, to a recycling facility down there that takes care of it. That is how, this is handled by the NRRA, who is the people we deal with.
and they find you places to recycle it, right?
Right, they market our products.
Do they consider marketing it to a biomass, like a place that burns it for energy? Or is that not like a thing that they consider? Do they only consider recycling centers?
I don't know.
Because that could be something to look into. I don't know if we could either get a small amount of revenue for sending it to be burned for energy, or at least cost less.
I can ask the NRRA to, have that question, and get back to you. Household hazardous waste, that's level funded from last year to this year. As of, I had done this, I hadn't received the bill yet. I don't know if your worksheet reflects it. You might have a different one. No. So the maintenance line, that maintenance line was for just regular maintenance that would be on the equipment of the balers, the scale, the propane forklift, and the Bobcat, the telehandler. The increase is due to the breakdowns and of the Bobcat or the telehandler up there. There has been significant breakdowns of that in the last 2 years.
Just a question, with such an increase there, had we not been keeping up with the maintenance of the equipment? Because it looks like in the past, it's been like 3,500, you know,
It's
that's
the
a big
wrong
thing.
application. The piece of equipment isn't right-sized for the job it's doing. The piece of equipment up there is more for a construction site, lifting plywood and things to a second floor and things of that nature, not for going around and crushing cans and making more room in it. We've spent, from '21 to this year, without the most recent bill, because it's sitting up at Bobcat again, $26,000 in repairs. It's an electrical nightmare,
Wow.
so.
Your mention of crushing made me think of another question. The glass, is the glass still being disposed of at the town sand pit?
No, that is recycled through NRRA, and that's taking to the turnkey recycling facility.
That's like is that the waste management people?
Yeah,
Do they recycle it, or does it just go?
no,
into
they
like
recycle it.
Does it become like aggregate?
I don't know what they're using it for, but we're recycling it, and we pay $40 a ton to dispose of it, which we are offsetting that cost with our marketing of our other things that we do through NRRA.
Have we ever tried calling like like a concrete company or something and selling it as aggregate?
We're not crushing it. We're not crushing it in such a way that it's down to fines that would be manageable for somebody like that to use.
Any idea what that would cost to
To crush
do?
it, yeah, $50,000 to $60,000, and you'd have to have at least 100 tons stockpiled on site for the company to come in.
Any idea what we could get for it per ton?
No, I don't. I think that we would just be left with a pile. I don't know anything about that. That's why NRA handles our marketing. So,
One thing that concerns me a little bit, just about the recycling center in general, is the budget's gone up 10% each of the last 2 years. That's a lot, you know?
tipping fees, it's all driven, it's
Yes.
contractors, it's, We have no control over it.
Has anybody ever priced out going to a pickup system, you know, house to house for the town? I know they do it in Brentwood and, you know,
No, not to my knowledge.
I
unless
just
it-
wondered,
We
you
could,
know.
we could probably look up Brentwood's budget and find out what it costs them.
I just bring up Brentwood, but there's a lot of towns that do it, and I'm just wondering at, you know, 10% increases, you know, whether it might be feasible at some point. I know a lot of people in town already pay for it. You know, the trucks come to their house and they pick up their trash and all that stuff.
Are you thinking that would be a savings to do that?
I'm not, unless you know the cost, I mean, I can't say, you know.
Right, okay,
But
right.
I'm just wondering if we've looked into the alternative, and if we haven't, maybe we should, that's all. Just to get an idea of what it costs and whether it's feasible. If it's not feasible, then, you know,
I think the feasibility is a big question with the roads that you have in the condition. You can't put a packet down a lot of those big roads and have any kind of collection. If you're gonna go to a collection system, you almost have to go to an automated collection system where the things can be picked up by the automated iron that
Yeah,
you see
yeah.
in the trucks.
I've seen that too.
I've looked into this in other communities, and it's just not feasible. It's gonna cost you more, but sometimes the public wants it, especially in urban areas.
Yeah,
Rochester has pickup because they get it free for hosting the turnkey. And I remember other towns, we've looked at it, but it's a fairly big investment. And just looking at some of the roads you have, I just don't see how you're gonna pick them up with anything short of a one-ton truck with wooden sides where they get out and throw the bags in. Then you got workers' comp issues, you've got, you'll have to find somebody or other willing to do it on a contract basis, and then you still have to pay for the disposal. And the disposal is, as Sean indicates, the big cost, so you're just adding the pickup cost to the already
Yeah.
expensive disposal cost.
there's certainly a lot of convenience to having it picked up at your house, but,
Oh, it is.
Well, for a lot of the rural area that we're in, the driveways and the setbacks from the houses are quite a distance further than they would find in a more metropolitan area.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that the average person would want to be hauling those great big carts. I know I wouldn't want to haul it 300 feet down a hill and then back up. And I know my next door neighbors have 1,000-foot driveway, so they wouldn't want to.
I just asked the question. I'm not saying it's, you know, the right.
No,
thing.
I'm just saying that those are the things to think about, just think about where we live.
Right. Well, everybody around is pretty rural, so.
Yeah.
All right. Dues and conferences, that's level funded. Mileage, 200, level funded. Most everything here is down here is level funded. Uniforms, fuel cost, things of that nature. There's no, there's a $300 increase on the telephone, and that's the internet, the Wi-Fi cost. And I think the security cameras are part of that as well.
Is that one line?
But,
One line?
yeah,
295.
No, I meant one phone line.
one phone line, and the internet, and the cameras. So that's the budget, if you have any other questions. How's that?
CIP?
CIP, I haven't met with the board or the CIP committee yet. Alls I have is what I've, here is what I've asked for, so I don't know what direction anybody's going in. It's basically it's a utility truck to replace an existing failing truck we have now. The backhoe, that's to replace the Bobcat, the telehandler at the recycling center that's costing us so much.
So I'm just curious on the truck, what kind of truck or what'll
It's
it have?
we're looking to replace an F-350 with a utility truck with another F-350 with a utility box. What we have right now has just been a pickup truck that got converted over with a flatbed and toolboxes on it. We're gonna actually have a truck set up with an actual toolbox,
Is that single cab, crew cab?
single cab.
Is this the one that was, there was a Warren article last year, but it got zeroed out?
Yes,
And I think that was like, the opposition to that was that there were more trucks than drivers? Has that changed?
each truck has its own specialty, so we wouldn't use a dump truck or a 10-wheeler to take around hand tools to fix signs and that nature, carry a compactor in. So we have one utility truck that will be housed with hand tools, chainsaws, the equipment and the hardware for repairing signs, have a fuel tank on it for filling up the construction equipment that's on site. It will have a plow on it and wood plow as well. And the other truck we have is a Ford F-550, and that's a 1-ton.
Now that backhoe, I seen a backhoe at the recycling center already today. It says rental on it.
That is exactly what that is a rental. That is because the Bobcat's not there.
Is that what you're looking at, something like that size?
Exactly. That was set up. That backhoe is what we're renting right now in place of that. Bobcat is got the clamshell bucket on it, which makes picking up the refrigerants and all the couches and mattresses that are piled aside a one-man job. His clamshell just grabs it, throws it in. Then I got 70,000 for this year. That's to finish the engineering on Kelsey Road, culvert and Cooper Hill Road culvert replacement. 600,000, that's the warrant in the operating budget on construction and paving. And then to apply 100,000 to the capital reserve.
I have a question, looking at line item 280, highway contracted road maintenance, how does that fit in with the 600,000? You know, the warrant article.
That's half of it. Half of the 600.
Okay, so we put 300 in the budget
300 in warrant article.
and 300 in the warrant article.
Yep.
Part of me wonders how much we need.
Was it $1 million a mile to pave?
No, the reason I'm asking this is, there's a lot of things that have to be done on the roads, okay? And I guess I don't understand why we go with the warrant article every year instead of just increasing the budget.
I think it gives people a choice if
Well,
it's a really
increase the
bad,
budget a little
if
bit
it's a really
each
bad
year.
economic year, that people can say, maybe not this year.
What's that?
Because we have a tax.
Well, this
Well,
year,
you've been
yeah,
doing
you
it
had for
before.
many years before, you know what I mean? It's
not a new
like
thing.
this.
I'm just saying,
That's
swing,
not-
swing part of it
doesn't
into the
hold
budget
water.
and less on the warrant article, that's all. Try to build up the operating budget, because you're gonna spend the money every year, right, John?
I would say to do it the other way, if you wanna get under the tax cap.
We're all towards the warrant article.
I mean, I kinda like the way it is now, splitting it in half.
I'm just asking a question. I'm not saying it's right, wrong,
No, throw out ideas.
you know?
Alright. Any questions? Alright, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Yep, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I didn't make good notes on that one. They were in line with what you wrote.
No, for the highway.
Oh, for highway? I mean, that can go down by 5.
Yeah, I have that now.
That can go down by another 5. This looks like it could go down by 10.
Oh, this is the one I have.
Yeah, yeah, I got about the same number you got.
Fire department, can't touch fire.
Well, and I mean, all the increases was voted in last year, like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Should be lucky he works for like 11,000 a year, right?
A couple of the older guys work on it. You know, the guy with the butt.
Yeah,
Yeah, Lisa did all the grades.
yeah.
For what?
No, it's a first draft.
Yeah, but these are the ones, right, so these are the requests, which so I was thinking, I was thinking we should have the department heads
All right.
present to the budget committee and the select board at the same time. All right, go ahead.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Liz Bolton. I'm the director of Blaisdell Memorial Library. Happy to be here tonight. I don't have a lot of lines, but we can go over them.
Where do you start? What's,
Yeah, what line is it?
It looks like I am 349, 350, and 351, 52.
library?
Just a quick question right away.
Mm-hmm.
Is the 12.7% increase in the hourly rate, did every person get the same rate increase, or did they vary, or?
They vary.
I think one of the nice things that I would like to see on the budget committee for all the departments is to come in with their personnel. What the current rate was last year, what it is this year. You know, more exposure, I guess. I hate looking at one number, you know?
Yeah, the school gives us a whole list.
349.
No, I know, I'm talking about the other departments.
I know.
It's always
So you're asking for something like the school gives us,
Yeah.
a salary
yeah,
sheet.
A little more detail, that's all.
Says how many employees do you have?
I currently have 7 employees,
Seven?
plus myself is 8.
How many full-time and part-time?
349.
There's 1 full-time salary, that's myself, and I have 1 full-time hourly. Everybody else is part-time.
One more page.
There.
That's it. I'm sorry, that was 7 positions, you said, how many full-time?
Well, I mean, if I count myself, there's 8.
Okay,
I have 2 full-timers myself, I'm salaried. My head of circulation is full-time hourly, and then I have 6 part-timers.
Now, did you like compare rates around communities in terms of library staff and whatnot, and what they were making?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
So I noticed the merit compensation pool thing's 0. Is that we're just getting rid of that budget line item then?
yes.
And that's because it got moved to kind of the town's general merit pool
Yes.
increase? Okay.
and how does that work? Is it divided equally between everyone?
I think the
Town?
town, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the select board hands out a certain number to each department head, and then they can hand those out to their employees based on merit? I got a head nod and a head shake.
Yeah, it's all individual.
Yeah, merit should be individual, you know.
The departments decide how to get it out.
But subject to board approval.
Correct.
But there's a certain amount designated to each department head to hand out, right?
We can arrange those.
Range.
And where's that number at, the poll number?
Under executive.
First.
Line,
Line 4.
oh, line 4, that is at the beginning. And that's based on how many employees? Sorry, probably got the wrong person to answer that.
In total, we have approximately 61 on payroll. That is full-time, part-time, elected officials.
It's not, a lot of those are not.
But not all of them get
Thank you. Sorry, got sidetracked.
How's the new elevator?
It's in Concord right now. We are waiting for the installer to have enough staff to install it for us.
Same as everybody, huh?
Yes. It'll be great when we get it.
The other one's holding steady, still going up and down?
No, no,
Broke?
it failed.
Did it?
It failed immediately. So it's been suspended since March.
So the 351 library operation and appropriation, I noticed in the narrative here, we have added monies to maintenance line item to cover maintenance of aging building. But the library building maintenance already has its own line on 136. The library, it's in the town hall, other building department, the thing.
Are you saying it's covered somewhere else?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we already have a $2,000 library building maintenance line where we have all the other building maintenance and stuff. And then the building maintenance is being used as justification to increase the library operation and appropriation.
Well, there's things that the town pays for and there's things that we pay for. Generally, they pay for the outside, and this is just a gray area. We pay for what's going on inside. So, things like light bulbs, broken toilets, things like that, there's a lot we're responsible for. Even though the trustees, we spent some of the money on outside building maintenance, power washing it because the mold was creeping up, and putting gutters on so that we wouldn't have as much water damage. So it's sort of a gray area. We don't cover the entire maintenance, and neither does the town.
Are you able to cover the maintenance with the nonprofit money, the donations that the library receives?
We do not receive that much in donations in any given year.
Can I ask how much?
Who is donating this? Is this from, the donations that I see during the year, I generally see at Christmas. I have a couple of people give us $250, $500, generally with the stipulation that it be spent on, say, audiobooks or children's programming. So we don't get any excess donations that would allow us to cover maintenance.
Could we put together like a community donation link or something, like a GoFundMe to raise money for the library? Because I've noticed a lot of people in town really like the library and said that they would fund it even if it didn't have a lot of support from the town. And I've tried to set one up with GoFundMe in the past, but the sticky wicket always comes up that you're not listed in the GuideStar database of approved nonprofits. And I did verify with them that town departments and things like a library are able to be listed in there. So for example, like the food pantry is in there, the fire and rescue is in there. So when someone's listed in the GuideStar, it becomes very easy for someone to put together an online donation link to raise money, say for the library if they have, maintenance costs or something like that. And I think it would be pretty easy to raise that money through voluntary donations with all the positive energy I've seen out there on Facebook about the library.
It's something that they've explored, but, according to the RSAs, once a community has a library, they're supposed to be funding the bulk of the library. We will put everything out there. We have the Friends working on our behalf. However, we can't dictate to the Friends what the money they raise, where it goes. That's on their end.
Right.
So we're happy to
Saying,
look into every, and I know that.
I bet I could get you thousands of dollars in donations. If you could
Well,
set
then
up
why
a
don't you come on
GoFundMe.
down and tell me how?
I have. I've suggested if you get GuideStar to set up, we can make a GoFundMe and we can get you thousands of dollars. Yeah.
It's questionable, and we would have to look into whether you can legally do that for a municipality.
You can. I checked with GuideStar, and then they have the ability to accept a donation from that.
But, so there's a difference between, like, the food pantry and the fire department, which is volunteer.
The food pantry is a 501c3, that's its own entity. Okay, the fire department has the association that handles donations and stuff like that, that is separate from the town as well.
Right, but if I write you guys a check, you guys can cash it. Like, if I say I want to give the town extra money, you can vote at the Board of Selectmen to accept the money, right?
That would be unanticipated.
Exactly, yeah.
You can't deduct it on your taxes.
Either way, you can accept donations. And I'm just letting you know that having gone down the road of trying to set up a GoFundMe for the library before, the sticking point is that you're not listed in the database, and I've contacted the people with the GuideStar database, and they say there's no problem getting you guys listed, and then I gave some contact I don't know if it was you, I gave someone the information on how to get listed, and it's never happened in 2 or 3 years.
Okay, well, I mean, I work at the courtesy of the trustees, so they're the ones to work with on
All right.
that.
Well, I would again recommend getting it set up, because I think we could get together a donation thing going.
We'll go to their meeting, Tom.
Huh?
Go to their meeting.
I go to enough meetings, John.
Hey, so do I, but it doesn't stop me. You're passionate about it.
Does the library have any ability to raise funds for like sales of books, like on eBay or Amazon? Or, because I know they do the book sale every summer, and it seems like there's always a lot of books that are getting culled from the shelves.
Those go out, that's for the Friends,
Yep.
who's I say, they're a separate entity. They raise money to donate to us, but we can't dictate to them. So they do get I mean, we've explored different things, items like going through thrift books and stuff like that, but we end up having, for the amount of stuff, I'm not a large public library. I'm not like New York Public or anything like that. So I don't have enough stuff to gather together to get a lot of bang for my buck.
I'm thinking out loud, obviously, right? So I know the amount of books that we have in our house that, you know, we go through them like it's a revolving door. Maybe if there was an employee at the library, even part-time, you know, library could manage and sale it like thrift books or whatnot. And then I'm sure people in town have excess books, and maybe we could just kind of, you know, they donate the books. Someone on staff at the library would be in charge of, you know, a few hours a day, kind of maintaining the sale. I know my place of business, they sell used parts that way, and it works out really well.
Don't we do that a couple of times a year with the book sale?
Yes, that's with the Friends of the Library. We do not have enough storage space, nor do I really have enough staff to put into something like, I don't have any place to put excess books.
Right. I know it's packed, but I'm thinking, you know, dreaming that the staff, they could not only pay for themselves, but they could offset a large amount of this cost by doing this.
Does the library ever, I think the rec program charges fees for different programs and activities and stuff. Does the library ever?
We're not
try
allowed to
raise
do
revenue?
that per RSAs.
All right, great.
Yeah.
All right. As soon as I hear that, I stop. Anyways, I noticed in here added monies for postage increases. You don't have a postage line item. Do you have roughly any idea how much postage costs?
For us, normally my line item, I've put in $150 a year in it. And this year, I need to buy more stamps before the end of the year, so I put it in as $175. Not a huge increase.
And then your phone, you got 800 for the phone. Is that just one line?
We have two,
2 lines? And then does that include the internet?
yes.
Okay.
And one is
So-
a POTS line that takes care of our alarm system and the fax machine that people, plain old
Plain old
telephone.
television, that's right, yeah.
And the other's a voiceover.
So, and I think this came up last year.
Mm-hmm.
What is your secret to having 2 phone lines for $800, and how can we share that with the other departments that spend a lot more?
Because there is a special program through Comcast that libraries can get a reduced cost,
Ooh.
which I don't think the other departments
Is
can
it
get in on.
just for libraries?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Interesting. And then I also notice in here, under justifications for the budget increase, added monies for automation costs. If things are being automated, shouldn't that also lower those salary costs?
No, when we talk automation in the library world, we're talking about the integrated library system, which is called Apollo, and I can get really dry and long-winded here, but that's the system by which we register patrons, give them their card, it has a barcode on it. That's what they use to check things in and out. The system controls our catalog so people know what we have. It controls our system of knowing who's got what out. It's where we put our information into it so people know what books are in there. And that's, the fact that it's automated means that, yes, we don't have a card catalog, and no, we don't have people actively writing down and stamping books like that. But in order to take care of all that information, we have to pay a certain cost for the service.
This is a paid software service type
It's a
thing
paid
every
ser-
year?
Yeah, it's hosted on the cloud. We don't host it in-house. We are allowed, we try to keep our collection under a certain number of items, otherwise we'll jump up into another one. But they sent us an email, actually a mail letter last May, saying that they've held costs down for the past 2 years, but they want to let us know there's going to be a 5 to 10% increase next year. For us, it's not huge, but it's going to bite into the line item.
Do you know if there are any open source software alternatives for this? I would imagine with our crafty librarians or someone's done this.
Well, there's Evergreen, but that's one. The problem is I do not have any IT person on staff who can get in there and write the code or mess around with the code. I have an IT person who's entirely volunteer, saves the town a lot of money by doing all my IT work gratis. I don't think he's in the mood to have me try and get something free source. Actually, I think he quit.
How much does the paid service cost?
For the past, it's with the stuff we have, it's $1,800 a year. Generally, it used to be $1,900. They dropped it down by $100 a year during COVID because we weren't checking out as much. So next year, I'm assuming it's going to be back up to $1,900, $2,000, maybe $2,100, depending. They haven't sent me another letter.
And then I'm curious, how many library cards are there out for the
How many
town?
library cards do we have in the system? We have 3,572 out of a town population of 5,529. It's pretty good.
Are they all active?
Yeah.
Do you call them at any
We
particular?
do call them when a lot of people have been moving in and out. So, yeah, they're a 3-year card. Once they expire, people come in and reactivate them if they're around. If they're not, then we just cull them out of the system.
What kind of maintenance items do you anticipate having inside the building?
We have a broken bathroom fan, we have some lights that aren't working, we have 2 drippy faucets downstairs, and they only seem to drip hot water, not cold.
Good in the winter.
Yeah. Things of that nature. We've been told, I was told last year, that the oldest burner in the building is on its last legs. We've been able to keep it going. I've had different servicemen spend hours, and I had somebody there for a whole day last year. But those are the kinds of items that we're looking at.
So, the town does the outside maintenance?
They do the mowing, they plow the, they plow the parking lot. We are hoping that somebody will joyously shovel our walks and around the library this year.
Did anybody fix the sidewalks?
No,
No?
no,
Thought that was gonna be done.
that's under the capital improvement.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's not good.
Don't blame me.
So who would do that?
You're
Highway
right, so
department?
who's,
The problem is it's all dependent upon the parking lot, getting that fixed, because the water is coming down across the hill, swirling around, and then seeping underneath the sidewalk and heaving it up. So the problem is getting worse rather than better.
I have a question about added illegal line item for review of policies. Is that like for lawyer review?
Yes.
Is that related to the controversy of like children's books and stuff that
It's
we've
about-
seen at the school?
We're supposed to have our policies reviewed before we put them in, as well as review them periodically. That's not been done. So we'd like to have somebody give a second set of eyes over our policies before we and yes, it helps with challenges to make sure that your policies are ironclad.
But do your policies, have they really changed much? Like,
We've added policies. When you add policies, if you change policies, if you have to change the verbiage.
when's the last time you've had to spend money on a lawyer to go over your policies?
We haven't, it was offered by the town, but the town will have to defend us if somebody has a major issue. So we just wanted to be proactive and just have somebody look. Some of our policies are old. The world has changed.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So, yeah, so what you said in the CIP stuff is parking lot reconfiguration and paving and the ADA compliance. So I assume that's the sidewalk.
Yeah, entrance repair and the front door should be an automatic door that they can just push a button to get in. It's not, so we're not compliant, fully compliant.
So is the sidewalk not included on these two items then?
The sidewalk, it is.
Is part of the
Entrance
paving.
repair and parking lot reconfiguration, it's sort of a package because they need to fix the water problem. Otherwise, we can keep laying the pavement down or the stones down and they'll just keep popping up.
I would add some kind of wording that refers to the walkway
Okay,
in that.
Well, it's probably more detailed in the CIP request itself.
No, I mean, whatever the warrant article says it
Yeah.
should.
Well, whatever that ends up to be.
Right. That way people are more informed at what it means.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you.
oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Hi there.
Hello.
I am Courtney Duval, Parks and Recreation Director. I usually get up here and yap about all the programs and stuff we do, but this time I wrote it down. If you don't mind passing them down, that would be great. All right. Before I kind of jump into some lines that have changed, I wanted to kind of do an overview. It's usually the one time a year I get to kind of brag about what we do, and we do a lot, and we've grown a lot, so it's fun stuff to talk about. Our department has grown in so many ways over the last several years, and this year's budget definitely reflects that. We have the general budget, which you guys look at, and then I also have my rec revolving fund as well. The rec fund has consistently grown to help support the growth of our department. So that includes our programs that we have registrants pay money for. So those programs come out of the rec revolving fund. That also takes care of the seasonal staff and the full-time staff that I have that take care of those programs and events throughout the year. For seasonal staff, I have around 20. That includes the summer camp. Sometimes that will go up or down based on how many kids we have enrolled. Since COVID, we've kind of come right back up. We moved summer camp back over to this facility, which is, we used to be at the school, which was a great facility for us to use, but really, this is our home. This is where all of our stuff lives. This is where, you know, if we could ever get lifeguards again, that's where we're really close to the town beach, and then closer to the Marston development, and hopefully that we can use for camps and stuff moving forward as that kind of gets up and running. That fund also helps with our online software. It's what we use for email blasts. So like that fund really is a powerhouse for kind of how we run those programmatic things through our department. Half of my full-time assistant comes out of the rec fund, and that's her salary and benefits. And my full-time program supervisor salary and benefits come out of that fund as well. So really, currently, the general fund is me. So this fund, Rec Revolving, is crucial in helping us offer some of the 30 programs that are on that list that I gave you all tonight. The events, the free events that are community events, that's in the general fund, which we'll get to a little bit later. Yeah, so that fund, that's kind of a little bit how that fund works. Is there any questions about that?
Yeah, the rec revolving fund, is that on this budget or
It
is
is
that in a
not.
different? Okay.
Nope, that is a fund that I oversee.
Just like a separate account that people donate to?
Yep, the
or-
purpose of the rec revolving fund is that we charge for programs and activities. The money that we bring in for that fund goes out to make sure that those programs can happen, and we have the staff to run those programs.
Okay,
Yep,
so it's separate from the town budget?
Yes, yep.
Can you talk to us in more depth about the 25,977 increase in salaries? Like,
Yes.
What's that made up of?
Yeah, so, COVID really kind of, it jumbled our department a lot and what we could offer and what we could do. And since we're navigating through that still a little bit, but we're really kind of back to where we were pre-COVID. That line, the changes that I've made or added this year, hold on, I just lost my place here. When my job description changed to incorporate parks a couple years back, the responsibilities of our department changed. We needed to grow so that I could manage and keep our indoor and outdoor facilities safe and accessible to our community and continue to operate the programs and events that we do run.
Sorry to jump in. Parks,
Yeah.
I mean the Marston property, did that?
Marston, Foss Fields, that includes the town beach. Yeah, so it includes those areas.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. With that change, at that time, came little change to the budget. So we've been creative with doing community cleanup days and things like that to kind of get the ball rolling on some of the items that need assistance out here that we still continue to do each year. That new facility, Marston, is finally set to operate spring 2023 with the addition of our well and irrigation system. The grass looks really awesome over there. We're excited to be able to use that. NYA is excited to get on there. Hopefully strikers can get some time there too. They want to use that. And our flag football program, which is a new program we started a couple years back. That's a program that will use those fields too. So with that additional facility comes outdoor items, like we have to make sure that it's not something that will get littered. We have to make sure, we have to think about portable toilets that go on that site, signage, repairs to vandalism and growth. So one of the additions I have in this line is a part-time maintenance person. There's a lot of parks and recreation departments around the state that try to get creative with this position. I figured it was a great try. We have a lot of things like maintaining the town beach. When we do our community service cleanup days, it looks really awesome for the month of April. Summer months come, that grass all grows back. We don't have lifeguards, we don't have staff that can maintain that. So that's just one facility. We usually work with Highway, but this year Highway had less people. So when we had trash receptacles out, Highway would help us unload the trash, bring it to the dumpsters for us. We don't really have a truck or facility that, we can't really do that in the rec. I have a van and the seats don't go down.
So out of that 25K, 17 is a.
Yep, would be dedicated to that part-time person. And that's a start. And Sean talked a little bit about mowing, and all that kind of gets incorporated in maintenance of fields and facilities. That upstart cost to have a person in-house do that is high. You'd need a truck, you'd need a trailer, you'd need a lawnmower, you'd need weed whackers, you need a bunch of stuff. So that's a big cost, and so it's kind of like that cost that we have here in our mowing line, that is, we contract out for that, and we really do rely currently on volunteers to help maintain the ball fields that we have.
So when it comes to the beach cleanup and park cleanup and mowing and stuff, I don't know if you heard, I was talking to Sean about this. But have you, now that COVID is over, have you explored inmates from the Rockingham County Jail? Because I know they've offered those up in the past for tasks like that. And
Last year when we talked about it, I did call over, and they had still had their program suspended. I have not. I was told I was put on a list, and that's something that I can check back on and see if that program's open. It
when
just,
was the last time you called them?
probably last time we talked, so last year around this time. So
Yeah,
I'm
people
sure-
were still
Yep,
doing stuff
Yep.
back then. So I would call back again and
Yeah.
find out. I think things have returned to normal.
yep, we can definitely check in and see what services they
Because
offer.
that would be definitely cheaper than hiring a new person, because, you know, it might be 17,000 here on your, but then we might have like all sorts of other lines in here that get affected by that with benefits and things, and,
Yeah,
yeah, so I would look into that again.
yeah. We have, so, you know, we have this facility here, and just to take you through this, last year or 2 years ago, I don't remember at this point, but we took out this brick walkway to make it a little bit easier to maintain, and Highway's done a great job at helping us maintain that space. But if you look back, or if you've been back there lately, the overgrowth is awful. Our playground gets invaded by poison ivy and stuff like that, and raspberry bushes, so that stuff all kind of adds up. But if we had an in-house maintenance person that we could task with those small types of jobs, it would make a big difference in the way that our facilities look and in the way that we kind of operate our programs. It's a duty of mine to make sure that those spaces are all safe, and I don't know if you've seen raspberry bushes, those things are sharp. So, and I've pulled them out myself. So, I mean, we do the best we can, but,
I think everything looks great. I think
Yeah.
you're doing fine.
well, thank you. It's a lot of work.
How many kids are you servicing right now?
How many kids?
Yeah.
I don't have a total number, but I kind of added some up quickly while I was sitting there. Between programs like flag football, after-school care, summer camp, martial arts, we have around 300-ish kids that kind of filter in and out through our programs. Our senior group, we have around 60. We started a walking club around town that utilizes the trails that the trails committees help clean up and maintain, as well as the trails we maintain, like Marston and here. And we do luncheons, and we do deliveries now. We've kept that through COVID because we've been able to reach so many more seniors who are homebound. So it's been a really nice addition, and we're hoping to keep it.
How many was it before COVID? Did you service roughly?
Seniors?
No,
Oh.
kids and stuff, you know?
It was honestly high right before COVID. My last year of summer camp was, I had 130 kids registered when we were over at the school, and that's why we chose to kind of move there to see how that would work. Then COVID hit, and it brought numbers down, but I would say now, so summer camp, we definitely are back up to around 100 registrants. That equals out around 60 a day, because we also offer additional summer camps as well. So like, we've had a STEM club come in and do like Legos and that kind of stuff, and we've had soccer camps come in. We want to try to work this year with local people like NYA and Strikers, and see if we can do kind of a partnership that way, keep it a little bit more local. But yeah, I mean, our numbers are back up, and it's really great.
But we don't charge anybody for any of the programs?
We do, yep. So those programs,
You have a revenue line?
that is the rec revolving fund. That's how those programs work. But for things like Halloween, our egg hunt, our summer concert series, all that I'll get to, that's in my program line. For instance, before COVID, I was hitting about 100 to 200 people maybe at some of the holiday events. This past year at Halloween, I had 400 people. So the growth we're seeing, and we've been able to provide more because we have more staff to do a little bit more, which has been really great, and more people have come out to support.
Well, I am a big supporter of the rec program.
Thank you.
Big.
Thank you, appreciate that. We really love what we do.
So you mentioned that you expanded a lot in the last year or so. So have you grown the revenue coming into the rec revolving fund as well?
We have steadily increased that revenue, I would say.
Is there an idea of how much it is per year?
I'd have to
Like
get
the
those
the
numbers.
total amount, or
Yep, I'd have to get those numbers. That's the one thing I did not
do you
prep for
have,
tonight.
do you have a ballpark number?
Last year, I think the revenue in rec revolving was like do you remember? It was in the town report. I wanna say it was like 200,000.
And so that covers the whole rec department is, sorry, last year the whole rec department was 120. So does it, the rec department pays for itself then?
But you're not seeing the expenses for the rec
Yes.
revolving fund.
Yes.
You're only seeing the
Okay.
expenses that flow through the operating budget.
Right, the rec, so like in a given year, I would say like, we might be up 20,000. Because all that money that's coming in, we're spending out. And we're spending out to make our programs good, we're spending out on supplies and staff and.
It's not intended to make money.
So you just,
Exactly, it's not, that's exactly right, and what it is for is, it gives us kind of a cushion or something that we can try new things and it's okay to fail.
so
type
you,
of stuff.
so you brought in $200,000 into the revolving rec fund, and you had, I guess, 180,000 in expenses paid out of the revolving rec fund, leaving 20,000 to be applied to the 120,000 for the recreation department total. So that left 100, no?
No.
It
What am I-
doesn't
what do I-
transfer out of the
Doesn't.
rec revolving fund
Right.
unless the selectmen
So if they have extra in the revolving fund,
revolves.
it doesn't go against the,
It just
It
stays.
stays in there.
is there a reason that we can't apply the excess money in the rec revolving fund to pay for the recreation department? That kinda sounds like that would have been the point.
The revenue's coming from.
They don't accumulate a lot of excess year over year.
Yeah, we.
It's program specific.
It is, and so what you see, and I have a big, long spreadsheet that has everything, so what the rec fund is the money that comes in with the programs, I spend out on that specific program. So I wouldn't spend anything that martial arts would bring in and spend it on summer camp, if that makes sense. And yes, you could go and one year, I think a few years ago, a few years ago, that money, the BOS took out and put towards Marston for something that develops recreation.
But most of these costs that are in the recreation department, these would be considered overhead, right? This is overhead for running each of those programs. So wouldn't it be prudent for each of those programs, if whatever, pick one of these, flag football's bringing in some amount of money and it pays for itself and there's money left over, shouldn't that money be used to cover, that portion of the overhead for the recreation department's budget?
There are other programs though that she's running that aren't fee-based programs.
Right.
So like her senior lunch,
Yeah.
Yeah.
those types of.
Right, and so if a few of these are making lots of money, bringing in revenue, then they can help subsidize those other ones. Okay, well, $200,000 is a good amount of money.
Price, well,
Yeah.
it costs a lot to do the programs.
Right.
We have a lot of things that are, like, we have a lot that flow through that, and it's our online system too, it's our marketing softwares, it's that type of stuff, it's our publication, our brochures that we send out too. All that marketing stuff we can incorporate in those programs, because those programs, that money from those programs goes into that fund. So we try to take as much out of that fund as we possibly can.
When you say marketing,
Costs down.
marketing programs, this is marketing for the things that bring in revenue? It's marketing to increase revenue? Okay.
Marketing for everything, too.
Marketing for everything, yeah.
Marketing for the things that are free as well as
Well,
the things that bring
yes.
in revenue.
You generally don't market for things that cost you money, though. You generally do marketing to increase revenues.
I think she's using the term and maybe is
I'm using it as trying to get more people to come.
Right,
by.
yeah, I'm coming at this from like
Awareness.
That's
a
okay.
business
I
standpoint,
understand.
right?
I
And so my conclusion is that, if you're able to bring in $200,000 a year with $180,000 in expenses, you're making $20,000 profit, but you have $120,000 overhead. So, my calculations, that would be if you raised your fees 50%, that you would break even and the rec department would totally pay for itself.
Can I make a
Yep.
comment? What I would like to say is that the revolving fund can be used for a variety of recreation the philosophy, as I understand it, from what I've seen so far, is that as that fund builds up, it gets applied to major capital items to avoid going on the tax rate. So, for example, there needs to be something done about their office space, about their storage space, about all of that. And I believe that that could be used, for example, to move them within the building, to create a better office, because they've added staff and they are very crowded in their office. They don't have room, and they run the programs out of the office. So I don't think you're wrong about the possibility of spending the revolving fund towards overhead, but I believe that the reason it hasn't been done is because then they have like the 200,000 towards the fields. They have an amount, it's almost like putting money aside in a capital reserve or an expendable trust. So while I believe they could put it towards overhead, I believe that what they're doing to save it towards these projects so they don't get on the tax rate is a prudent way of using the rec money.
And the revenue that the rec programs bring in, does that like legally have to go into a rec revolving fund? Is that a state thing, or is that just something the town organized?
I think it may be a state thing, I can't say for sure, but when the revolving rec fund was set up, it was set up with specific criteria. And any money that comes out of there has to fit into that criteria.
Have we started looking at possible space for the rec department?
I'm getting ahead of ourselves. Come to the selectmen's meeting.
Enough money.
Come to the selectmen's meeting.
I think it makes,
We have a committee that's looking at facilities across the board, like all of the town facilities. They're gonna come back to us with recommendations for what the priority is.
I think Tom makes a good point though, in that we would all hate to see the rec programs diminish, but you know, you were looking at almost a 40% increase in this suggestion here, so, I mean, I hate to sound like the brutal capitalist, but what if you did fewer programs that don't make money, more programs that do, and then you could do more things? I know it's like, you gotta trim the fat somewhere, like, you gotta make these hard decisions, but you could do more and you could pay for more, and, you know, like I know in the past, I've organized road races, like half marathons or 10Ks or whatever. You can make a lot, like, Nottingham's beautiful, who wouldn't wanna come here and run on our back road? So, you know, maybe you could incorporate more things like that and have some bigger fundraising options. And then, cause that, you know, that 40% increase, that's like a, you know, we have a tax cap now that we need to get under, and we'd hate to limit your programming.
Yep.
So maybe like, oh, this thing is like only 5 people came and it was nice, but,
Yep.
you know, we're gonna
Nope,
trade
I
that for
totally-
something that, you know. So you can do more, like the last thing we want you to do is do less, so do more, but, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, the only thing I would caution on that is that senior lunches don't make money,
no,
but you don't wanna use that to be the criteria and say that they're not making money, so senior lunches.
100%, I'm 100% with you, but maybe some of these things, like, oh, that didn't really work, so let's definitely not do that, and let's put in more things that,
well, just to kind of rebuttal that, I keep a huge extensive spreadsheet that I keep track of program numbers, how many volunteers we have, the outcome, how much money we made, how much we spent. I call it my big program evaluation document.
Could we get a copy of that?
Yeah, if you'd like. I'm
Cool.
not quite updated with it, but I'd love to show you. Because a lot of the changes that we've made from years ago, I think I disagree with what you're saying respectfully, and just that we have made changes that have influenced more of the population. This year in particular, one of my department goals and professional goals is to conduct an in-house needs assessment, which could cost up to $80,000 if I were to contract that out. I'm gonna do it myself. So we're gonna have focus groups, we're gonna have surveys, we're gonna have feedback stations at every event, every program, and I'm gonna compile that into a big document so that we can set forth goals and what the town needs and what they want. We get all the time, I get emails, phone calls, personal conversations out in the parking lot as I'm trying to leave. Hey, we really need to do this. We do it, we never see any response. So that is definitely part of our goal, to figure out kind of like, are we in the right are we in the right ballpark, or are we doing what we can that fits the needs of most of that general population?
Are you thinking
So,
about like starting a committee or
I'm not
getting
sure
help
yet.
or?
Probably will need help. I tend to do things myself. I tend to try to get creative and put my head down.
Only so many hours in a day, you know?
But yeah, if people are interested, I mean, I like to reference Leslie Knope if anyone's seen that TV show. But, we can have those open discussions, and that's what we want to hear. I encourage all the people that come through, hear about us, to send me an email, complaint, no complaint. I want to know what's working and what isn't working. So that's a constant, a list. But yeah, I can definitely, let me make a note.
You put my name down if you want.
Thank you very much. But yeah, once I update it, is that okay if I update it for this year? I'm kind of behind. But I will send that along to you all.
So the mileage line, if you talk about expanding, getting lifeguards and stuff so that summer camps and whatnot can go to the town beach, and talking about taking summer camps to the Marsden, is that covered under $200 in mileage?
No. So if we were to use field trips or go on buses to get kids to field trips, all that money would come out of rec revolving.
So,
That mileage is used for when in-house staff, we have one town van that we use.
so why wouldn't the $7,000 for the lifeguards and stuff, why wouldn't that come out of the rec revolving fund?
Because if we had lifeguards just set for summer camp, then it would be impossible to have them also take care of the needs of the public that use the town beach.
So the public's been using the town beach for how many decades with no lifeguard? It's swim at your own risk. And as far as I know, we haven't had any incidents.
Actually, there used to be lifeguards.
There used to
there?
be, yep.
It's only in the past few years that there haven't.
And there haven't been any
And
incidents.
if we put a lifeguard.
Right.
If we put a lifeguard on the site, I couldn't have a list of like, hey, you can't save these, this public.
Yeah.
You can't do that. So if I have a lifeguard there for the summer camp, I'd have to have it there for the whole beach. And I've been down there before the beach is even opened, and I've had to call 911. So people go down there all the time and issues happen.
Pawtuckaway has lifeguards, right? At like the state park? No?
They do not.
Wow.
Can't hire 'em.
Well, it sounds like you can't hire them anyways, so we might just cut that.
Well, and that's, I have to put that in as a due diligence to what I'm running and the safety of the kids that come through my program.
Yeah.
The harsh reality is if I don't have a guard, I can't utilize that town beach at summer camp, which is really a shame because it's beautiful. And
Is
it's
that-
it's the one outlet. If you've been here in the summertime, these fields are very dry.
And if you go down to the town beach with the kids for summer camp, is that covered under our existing insurance policies? Or does that open up new insurance liabilities to
I
take them
think
into
that
the water?
covers, no, I think that's under our own, under the town's insurance.
I would check on that.
Just a point of clarification. Has the board talked to her about her budget and the new hire? Have you had any exchange on that?
Once.
Just once? Okay.
I mean, we had this meeting saying, here's what we're just going over with you guys for. I'm
So,
not saying much, because you're just reiterating what you're gonna talk to us.
no, I know.
Start with, so
the
I'll let
topper.
you answer your questions
Yeah,
for,
yeah,
I don't really have any questions for her, so.
yeah. Without the new hire, your total budget increases 25%. That new hire is 14% of your budget, so.
Right.
I'm
New
just
hire is the
clarifying that
the new hire is the 17,000 for the
Yeah.
part-time.
Yeah,
Yep, and there is a line too that I have increased our training line to cover costs of training lifeguards. So that went up, and if the lifeguard line gets
you gotta
that,
train them,
Yeah.
That's that. So yeah, I think
To Manchester's town pool, because they pay more.
everywhere pays more.
It looks like you're doing some great things,
Thank
Do
you.
awesome things.
really.
I would like to talk about our program line a little bit. So with the growth that our community has seen, so of the events I talked a little bit about in the beginning, for instance, this Halloween, we had almost 400 people attend, which was our largest event yet. Our concert series, we average 100 people per show. It's
Wow, that's-
really, really turned into something great. And that we're now starting to see, we used to kind of only tailored to kind of the older population in town, and now you're starting to see families and summer camp kids and their families come, and so it's kind of grown into a bigger thing.
They
So-
don't pay a fee
Nope, that's a free, that's what our program line is for. Our program line has been at 11,000 for a few years now.
Yep.
There's an increase up to 13,300, and I've, kind of priced everything out, but honestly, with those events, we have been doing a lot with very little. Just so you know, when we buy fish for the fishing derby, it's like $600 now to just buy like 100 fish. So the cost of things are going up, which makes catering to more people more expensive. And we want to keep things low cost. We want to keep things available so that everybody can come and enjoy. We've started incorporating different things like fundraising opportunities for other groups. So like Black Bear Lacrosse will come into our events, make the events a little bit bigger, a little bit more awesome, but they get to keep their profits they make. And that helps them fundraise for the programs that they do. Same with NYA or any kind of group like that. Girl Scouts, same sort of thing.
We're saying they come in and do fundraising at these events? And then they get to keep all the money?
They sell food.
They sell food, yeah, it's very small.
Alright.
It's money, but it encourages community efforts, and that's money we don't need as the rec
Like the
department.
concession stand.
Yeah, do you guys like set out a tip jar? Like a support the rec revolving fund tip jar?
We do donations, but those donations typically cover, like if we do a t-shirt, or if we do cups, or if we do a giveaway, like everything I try to do, accepting donations gets hard, because it's a,
How many concerts do you?
we do 5 to 6, depending on how much each show
Ever-
costs.
Ever thought about having, a jar out there if you wanna contribute? No pressure. I'm just saying,
No, it's one thing to maybe note here in all this, everything that Courtney does, as previous years of sitting on this board, listening to people say, oh, we need to, take care of people in town that can't afford to do things. That's why she keeps these things as low as they are. That's why she's doing this, to help the low-income families in town get to use some of these rec things. And this is why we did our 4% budget, and we did all our stuff to help protect those people. This is what she's doing.
Yep.
These are nice events she's putting on at a small minimum cost. We should be supporting them.
Yep.
And
I'm fully
whenever
support
there's a donation basket out anywhere, people are deterred who don't have money because a donation
bad.
basket
Yeah.
looks like, or feels like, and is an admission price. If you go to the theater by the things in Portsmouth, they don't charge you anything, but they're standing right there when you walk in. And if you don't put money in that donation basket, you end up feeling like crap.
I'm fine with not doing it, I just,
There are
Well,
some
that's
events
my
that
thought
we.
on donation baskets.
Yeah, no, and
Either it's free or it ain't.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we try to be very clear about what events we use donations for. The donations that the rec always collects goes back to whatever we're spending that on. So we're not collecting a profit from any donation. I know that for a fact. Just because that's not the intention behind it. The intention is to provide that entertainment. And really, Parks and Rec, I do a lot of research on this. I constantly try to educate myself in how I can do better, and it's mental, it's physical, it's emotional well-being for these people, and it's important.
What
So-
about like online fundraising? Because it sounds like a lot of people really support the rec department. What if we could get like a GoFundMe going, so it's not a
For the library.
intimidating donation thing, right? It's, no one knows if you're donating or not unless you want to put your name on
Problem
it.
with GoFundMe is they take like a big whopping part.
Well, if we get 98% of the money, that's better than no donation, right? I mean, we could very easily fund some of
What
this.
you should actually do, I think, is actually, because this is a big topic of yours of all the GoFundMes, is you should probably go and research all the towns that are running GoFundMes that are equivalent to the size of Nottingham, and see how much the contribution is actually coming from it, to make sure it's worth the while. So
Well, it doesn't cost-
Start a GoFundMe, it's like $50.
Well, John, it doesn't cost the town anything. All they have to do is get set up in GuideStar, and I'll set up the GoFundMe. It literally costs nothing, no time and effort. A check would just show up, and the Board of Selectmen would have to accept it. It's very easy to do. I don't understand the pushback to never getting listed in a charity database so that people can raise money for you. It's literally no cost to the town, and you can, yes, they might take a cut, they might take a 2% cut, but you get 98% of a donation you wouldn't otherwise get. So I think it'd be great to raise some money for things like the rec scholarship hardship, the 11,000. John had proposed at the Board of Selectmen meeting, just cutting that out to get down to the tax cap. $11,000, there's 6,000 people in this town, that's less than $2 per person. I'll throw $50 into that GoFundMe. Like, we can raise $11,000 pretty easily, I think.
Remember, Tom,
match it,
I
Tom.
proposed people pay $50 to use the dump, that $1 a week, and
Yeah.
people said no to that, so good luck on your $50 getting that in.
Shouldn't that come out of the rec revolving?
Yeah,
No, that's
All
the
right,
hardship
anything
part.
else for rec?
I'd
We
love
have
to
CIP?
just talk a little bit about that $11,000, if I may.
Which line, sorry?
That is that is a new line this year for us, and that is line
341.
341.
Thank you.
That was the one that used to
Yep.
be in welfare.
So,
No.
rec revolving fund, that takes money in, we spend money out for staff and programmatic costs. The money we take in for certain programs are the funds that we use to pay for those certain programs. So, we have been really lucky that we've been able to work with Supanoit and the last year have been able to use welfare dollars to kind of cover the needs. A tip for one child to go to summer camp 7 weeks of the summer, because we've had to raise costs to cover costs of staff, because retention has been very difficult for us. We hire teenagers, we hire college kids, we may have 1 or 2 adults on staff that are extra staff members from like our full-time people. That, it costs around $1,000 for 7 weeks, and we had 10 kids last year that utilized that scholarship, so that's about 10,000. And that was before this crazy spike in costs have kind of come. So, the 11,000, just so you all know, that would only cover help I'm anticipating to be for summer camp. We have an aftercare program that runs all year long. In fact, with summer camp and aftercare, we are only 3 weeks out of the year without children in our care, and we still do that long list of programs and activities alongside that for a department of 3 with some seasonal employees. So that money would only cover the cost of summer camp. Currently, we do not have scholarship help for aftercare kids, so I just wanted to make sure that you all knew that. With that being said too, we have looked into being child care certified through the state to receive state funding so that those families who are in need could utilize those funds. The amount of training hours and cost for some of those items, some of them are free, but some of them are not. The cost to do that with our revolving staff would be too great. And to get a bunch of 15, 14, and 15-year-olds to get down outside of work and do 8 to 12 hours of training is a lot to ask of them when it's only a 7-week program for the summertime. So we've looked at that, and you know, it just isn't something that we can do. So that is why this year it's in there, so that way we can free up the welfare money so that they can do what they need to do. We have some support from our general budget to make sure that we can hire enough staff to cover the additional 10 kids, because we operate at a ratio of 1 to 10, so 1 staff to 10 kids. If we don't have scholarship funding and we have 10 kids that are on assistance, that means we have to have another staff member and we have to pay that other staff member. Without that, it would be a safety issue. We have 60 kids, sometimes 70, running around. I need as much staff as I can to make sure everybody's safe and doing what they need to be doing. So that's kind of a breakdown. I hope that made sense. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer that, but that's why we kind of put that in
So
there this year.
you had hardship cases this year, right?
Yeah, we had 10.
So where's that actual cost?
That's like isn't that 311 in general miscellaneous welfare? I think that was,
That's not, we used, the welfare department helped cover those costs for us. So that was not in our budget.
Right, so, I mean, that's kind of where it belongs, though.
yeah, I think that's what that one was there. Courtney, the aftercare stuff, that's like after school care. Is there a reason the school doesn't provide that? Like presumably they're certified to
Our
take care of
budgets
it.
to go up.
Yeah, well, you don't have a tax cap, so, you know, and people are used to your budget going sky high, so.
As far as I know, they had a private company that was in there
It was
before us.
2%.
Yeah.
I have to go every year, every year that my contract is up, and, basically go and represent. So it's not a guarantee, but hopefully, we have a really great relationship with the school, the program's great, we have 65 kids registered. My program supervisor actually goes over there most days out of the week and is on site. She's also the person who goes and is there with summer camp. Having that third full-time person that stays constant is huge. We have a lot of children's behaviors and stuff that we just don't have the resources for. I'm essentially a principal, a school nurse, all the above, and that's, you know, we do the best we can, and that's what we
Previously,
are.
there was an external group organization that essentially leased the space and. there
At the
was-
school?
And there was basically a RFP put out a few years ago, the rec department, along with 2 other programs, or 3 other programs presented.
Yeah.
Theirs was the most cost effective, I think it pays for itself, or was
It
planned
does.
to pay for itself.
Yep.
And charges families less money than the other programs would have charged.
Yep, yep. So hopefully we get to keep that because it's a great program. We really love it. A lot of fun. Any other questions? I jumped around a lot.
I see 2024 pickleball. Paving, you gonna try to pave the spot for pickleball?
I would love to.
I like pickleball, I play pickleball.
Pickleball's fun. They're pretty competitive
it's
here.
a
We got a
good-
pretty competitive group. This paving area is pretty unsafe. We do like our yard sale here. Which we did our first time last year, and it was such a fun event. We had a lot of people partake, and I think we might try to do a spring and fall one. Seemed like a big hit, but we do that sort of stuff out here on this pavement. Also with Halloween, we did it out here. But this is the center of town. And this is where a lot of our stuff is kind of located. It takes a while for us to get our equipment and everything over to Marston. It takes a while for us to get the town beach, but here we've seen a little bit bigger uptick with like teens and stuff hanging out here around in the area. And I've also received a ton of feedback from our pickleball group that they would love an outdoor space to play. Now, a cost of a tennis court and basketball court is huge. So that's like $80,000. We could do something much smaller, repave it, level it, make it smooth. You could play pickleball out there, you could do basketball.
Yep.
It could be a place where people could come and hang out. It really would be a huge benefit, in my opinion, to the current facility that we have. And I don't think repaving, you know, you have maintenance costs with basketball hoops, but if we get the metal basketball hoops, those last a longer time. So I think it would be a huge benefit to this community. And it kind of answers some of those questions that we've come in and people who want a court just made, and that's a lot of money.
No, that's what they did at campgrounds, a tennis court, and they just made 2 pickleball courts out of
Yes.
it, so it's multi-purpose.
Yep, and we have a pickleball net that they use in this tiny gym. We can set 2 courts up, but it's a little bit short, and it's kind of crazy with the angle in the ceiling. But 1 court works really well, and we have the portable net we could just bring outside, so.
So repaving the basketball court or paving out a pickleball court, because it's so close to the library here, could that be combined with paving the library to save on costs if you get the
Taking
same
the
paving
pickleball
crew out?
court in the library?
No, just getting the same
No,
crew out to do 2
absolutely.
jobs right next to
Yeah.
each other.
We did that with the Marston parking lot when they did Case Road, we also paved Marston.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a.
Yeah,
The
that
timing
makes
is
sense.
about the same on
Yep.
these.
Yep,
That does make sense. When I had my driveway pay, we got with the neighbors, and it was cheaper.
Yep.
We all, now they're hauling the equipment out here, you know what I mean?
Lots of neighborhoods do that.
Yeah,
I've driven down roads and seen the sign for the paving.
absolutely.
The gym floor and wall safety upgrades, is that the climbing wall?
climbing wall, we have removed successfully the notches or the grippy thingies. We removed those this past year, which thank goodness, because that was a huge liability. I'd like to see the rest of them kind of brought down as well, but that's not as an immediate need as the gym floor is. The gym floor is the same tile that we have right here, which is not a gym floor material, and we use that space for gym purposes, and I've had injuries, and the drop ceiling, that's a whole different story, that's a bigger expense, but for now, that gym floor, when we have seniors playing pickleball, we have young kids and toddlers running around doing toddler gym, and we have youth sports teams that use it to do, I don't know how they do baseball in there, but they do. And then on top of that, we have all of these, we have wrestling, we have martial arts, we have a sword fighting crew that meets here, we also have a ton of community rentals that use the building, way more than we've ever had in the past, so a lot of people use the space for birthday parties. That's something the rec manages as well, so that gym floor is a huge problem. It has a big crack in the middle of it.
What would you replace it with?
They have this material, I have to do a little bit more research, but, you know, sport court is one of the major things, and it really, you can get it customized so that it just goes on top of what you have. And it's almost like a rubberized material. It's something that can cover what's there, and it's a better safety option, and you can get like an all-sport tile so that everybody can use it.
It's got some give to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, a little bit more safe. This is just, no matter how many times our Gina waxes and cleans it, it just never stays
Well,
grippy.
that sounds like a good option to put something over it. I heard that there's asbestos under these, so.
Yes, so covering it is the right move. Yep.
These are old floors.
Is the school's gym used all evening?
All the
year,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. Alright.
Hard to get
Yeah,
space,
it's all the
especially during
time.
basketball season.
Or volleyball.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do teenagers use your programs? I think you mentioned, 300 kids. Does that include teenagers, or do you have anything?
So we,
Teen programs?
that's a really hard age group. We are, right now, because we've been able to secure our third employee, have a little bit more room to try around. We've just launched our TAG program, which is our teen activity group, and we had our first event, we had a paint night. And for a first time, we had a great time. We had a good turnout, so we're hoping to kind of build that momentum and utilize that. But as far as teen goes too, I try to do a counselor and training program so that they kind of go through our program, taught by me and my two other staff members. Then they receive a certificate. That kind of went away during COVID because we've had some restraints, but we're gonna bring it back this year. And then we hire teens. So that's a big, not only is this like, it's great because the kids love the teenagers and they love our college age kids, but it's a really great way for teenagers to really understand what the workforce is like. So we kind of take the opportunity, we have to not only train them about how to be a summer camp counselor or a lifeguard, but we train them on how to actually clock in and out, how to remember to, eat your lunch and bring water and get a good night's rest, but it's more than people think. My staff manual is very thick.
How to do an application and an interview?
Yes.
How to do an interview?
Yep. Some come in all suits. It's lovely. I love it. So it's like a really great opportunity, and I think that I put a lot of pressure on myself a few years ago about really getting teens, and everyone is so busy right now. So it's really hard. It's a really tough group. Same with that, that younger adult population. They're the ones with kids, so that they're the ones who are crazy busy. So we've kind of put more efforts into that senior population, that youth population, but I think we're starting to combine them and do kind of more things that middle group can really get into as well.
That's
Yeah.
a big one there, so.
It's fun. It really, the challenge is great, and I think the team I have right now is really kind of into it and diving deep, so we're trying.
Cool, man.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you. I've learned a lot tonight.
Yeah,
All right, thanks,
thank
Cory.
you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Yeah. Do you want all your stuff up here, Courtney, or is this leftovers? These leftovers from somebody? They're leftovers. Ben, leftovers.
Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Fawn Woodman, Chief of Police. You guys still awake?
Yes, I am.
I don't want to bore you.
Waiting for you.
I work midnights, I could
So,
hang.
there you go. I guess I'll do kind of what Courtney did just really quick, because I don't really get to see you guys very often, and kind of do like a philosophical approach to my budget. A lot of questions come up. I think that in the room, you guys asked some really good questions, like how many employees you have, you know, what do you serve, what do your services provide, yada, yada, yada. So there are 8 full-time police officers in the town of Nottingham.
What line numbers does your budget start with?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Thank you.
So I'll wait till you guys get there.
Okay, I was just trying to get on the
You got
same
it?
page here. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that.
And mine are different numbers, but that's okay.
Say that again, about employees.
So, yeah, so I have 8 full-time,
I'm asking about how many?
Oh, sorry.
yeah, 8 full-time employees, that includes myself. Right now, I have 7. I have 1 in the academy, and then I recently am in the process of, we just did a huge hiring process, and I have 1 candidate in the end that I think we're gonna go with. And so throughout the year, just to kind of put things into perspective, I know that you guys understand, like we keep saying, and I wish it wasn't the case, but it's really hard, obviously, to find police officers and firefighters and people to work in public service. And we're kind of like all picking from the same candidate pool in law enforcement. We don't have a huge pool to pick from. So a lot of agencies in surrounding towns are offering like hiring, like sign-on bonuses to hire officers, and offering like high rates of pay and just different incentives, obviously. So it's been really challenging, to say the least. So I just wanted to put that out there to kind of explain that all. But we provide service to the town 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just because the lights are off and you don't think anybody's home, if you're up at night or working third shift, there's always an officer on duty. So, this year, we've been very, very, very busy. Obviously, like Courtney touched on, we're getting out of COVID times where it was just a little bit weird for a couple of years. And everything's up, right? Drug cases are up, overdoses. We actually had an overdose this weekend. So we're busy. This year, we did a lot of training. I tried to train officers to make it so we can do a lot of stuff in-house, that I don't have to rely on other pay monies to other agencies to get certified and stuff. So a lot of my officers got certified. We got our tasers this year. Thank you guys for that. We were able to get up and running, so everybody's been certified on those. Our in-car cameras, the warrant article that passed, we got them. We just got them last week. They're in their boxes, and there's like a 3-month turnaround for like install, but I'm like really excited about that. So we've just been moving forward in hard times, obviously. So so to get into my budget, I think the major things that you'll see changes in, obviously, is our salaries. And that's because we got the COLA raises, and then we get merit raises. And I know that there was a lot of questions about how the merit works. Yeah, sure, go ahead. Thomas.
I guess I'm confused about the merit because line item 18 has a $75,000 pool.
I don't have that on my budget.
No, I'm just saying.
Right.
So, and I think that's for all the departments. So when
It probably is.
am I right?
18?
You're looking
Yeah.
at 4, line 4?
I thought it was line 4.
It says website hosting.
What's that?
You're looking
Line
at
4.
He's looking at the different numbering.
Oh.
The numbering to the left is 18. Account number is 18, line number is 4.
It's the first page.
Oh,
The
number,
first,
line 4.
Line 4, account.
75,000.
Yeah, there's 75,000 for townwide for all employees.
Right, so my question is, you mentioned your 24,700 is COLA. Do you know what percent you use?
They got 4%.
4%?
Yep.
And merit. Now,
Right.
merit would not be in that line item. It's already on.
No, you have to reflect, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, John, but
Okay.
you can speak to it if you want. Okay.
The merit that was given this year and the COLA that was given this
Oh,
year
okay.
raises the base going into
Yeah.
next year.
I got you,
by that amount.
I got you. Okay. I kept thinking that was for, the 24.
That's
23 budget, I'm
looking
sorry.
back retroactively
Yeah.
at the change that occurred because of the raises that were given during this year.
So it was 1.7.
Yeah, so with each department, you're probably every year going to see those salary lines go up.
Yeah.
And especially if we get bigger and we hire more people, it's never probably going to go down.
Yours is actually the lowest.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
And it's hard
weird
to
way
find
to do it, right? Because like the merit increase is 75,000 and that was like flat for 2 years, but that 75 from last year is now 75 and somewhere else in the budget. So it's kind of like the merit increases doubled. It's weird, but I understand it, so continue.
Okay. So anyway, like I said, there's a change there. That's a big one. And then, I went down, my part-time, I don't currently have, I have one part-time position. Like I said, it's really hard to fill that position. And this year I took, the part-timer that we had, which was kind of like a diamond in the rough that I found. It really is for somebody that, either works for another agency or is close to retirement and can pick up some hours and, work for a different town. And because I lost somebody to another agency, I was able to hire that part-timer full-time. So we kind of lucked out, and it all worked out. So anyway, I put that line down because it's currently vacant and I don't know as if I can fill it. And that's certainly going to be something that I even look at, obviously, for 2024. If I can't fill that part-time position, it'll need to be cut. I don't know. The academy right now, they're trying to get rid of part-timers in New Hampshire, for many reasons. They only offer the part-time academy, I think, at the police academy one time a year. So you really have to get somebody that's full-time certified, if that makes any sense. So it's a really hard position to fill. Do you guys have any questions on that?
How many employees did you have last year, 2022?
So theoretically, we have 8 police officers, including me, that are full-time, and 1 part-timer. Those positions throughout the years, not just since I took over, but whatever, kind of like the fire department, like you lose one, you gain one, so we haven't really been fully staffed consistently, if that makes any sense, for various reasons.
So for 2022, you had 8 this year?
Yeah, at different times. We were down a couple at certain times because we lost some.
The only reason I asked is,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the full-time overtime, and, ideally, you'd like to see that number go down,
Yeah,
and be covered by
Totally
full-time
agree.
staff.
Yep, probably never gonna see that number go down if we lose people and we have to work
Okay,
overtime.
okay, yeah.
To put it in perspective, right? Because
Yeah,
we're
that makes
24/7, so to get that coverage, we have to work 12-hour shifts or 14, whatever the case may be, because the town doesn't go to sleep, so to speak.
Do you have to hire people that are like New Hampshire certified, or can you pull from like other states?
No, I mean, obviously, we hire any candidate that has any qualification, whatever, we go through it's a huge process, obviously, to be a police officer, but there is reciprocity through our academy with other states. They do like what it's called a law package. The guidelines on that are very strict, and that's from the academy, the police academy, in Concord, they write the rules on that. So if I have an individual, actually, one of the individuals that we just hired, worked at Merrimack College for 3 years, but he did not have enough hours, through Massachusetts system to equal like our full-time, so he had to go to the academy. He graduates tomorrow. But that's a good question. And so then just going down again, another thing that you'll see an increase in is my training line. And that's because my ammunition comes from that line, and ammunition is way up. I said it toward the Board of Selectmen, if there's anybody that
Way up.
likes to target practice or shoot, you understand that
Yeah.
it's costing a lot of money.
I guess it makes sense that would be in the training budget.
Yeah, I mean, I could make it a separate line.
Yeah. no,
A lot of PDs do. I just left it there, because that's how they did it for 25 years, so. And then, if we're going down again, I guess the next thing, is an increased fuel cost. Again, that's because fuel has gone up, and, we service 48 square miles, we run 24/7, and we're driving.
How many gallons do you guys use a year?
I'd have to ask Betsy. I don't know the answer to that. I think it definitely fluctuates every year. I can tell you that my officers, depending upon how busy it is or what's going on, can put easily 200 miles on a cruiser a night. Because like I said, Nottingham is really big, so.
Do you use like the Irving where you get 10 cents off a gallon? And all that?
So we use the system, whatever, I don't know if somebody could, maybe Sean knows better. Sean, what's that gas, it was Flex? Whack, there you go. We must get some kind of discount, like, we must get it a little bit cheap, I hope we do. Just like if I use my, you know what I mean, like,
Right.
Yeah.
It's probably like tax exempt or something, right? Not paying gas.
it's a yeah, so municipal, we probably get some kind of municipal,
We don't pay the tax, that's.
oh, that's, okay.
Right.
Well, yeah.
That's a big saving.
And then obviously, the next line that went up, you'll see my equipment line went up. That's to outfit a 2023 Cruiser. Equipment line went, if you guys know anything about the cost of stuff, equipment is costing more money. So everything that we carry as police officers, whether it's on our person or in our cars, is a lot of money. They're high-ticket items. And that's what the cost of that is, because we could go into like a philosophical thing about the ships that are shipping, and there's nobody working the ship, and there's nobody, and that's that, if that makes any sense. It's inflation and all those other factors that have driven all of our cost up. And then the other thing that went up is the cruiser, our cruiser for 2023. I think it's up a little bit from the year before. Because again, if you ever go buy, even if you go buy a new car, cars are more money, so.
And you skipped a cruiser last year, right?
I did not, no. So the cruiser is a line in my budget, and it's always been a line in the budget, and I think it's the best way to do it. I say that because I know that other towns put that stuff in like a warrant article, and then they never get it. So really, you pay more money in the long run because you're rocking some cruiser that has over 200,000 miles on it. Number one, it's unsafe. And you're putting more in cruiser maintenance. So you could forego something, but my cruiser maintenance line would exponentially through the years go up, so.
So did you just not buy the series? I'm just wondering why there's a 0 for 2022.
So, so this year, my cruiser that was supposed to come in, this year, they shut down manufacturing, and that happened to like Rockingham County Sheriff's Department, Durham PD, lost like 3. So they stopped making them for 2022. So I'm going to get a cruiser. They already ordered it, but it's going to come in 2023. So the Board of Selectmen have to encumber that money. If that's what you're speaking to, I don't know what you're looking. I don't see that online.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah, we have not gotten our new cruiser yet. We still have the cruiser that I was going to swap out. We still have that cruiser.
So that'll be, that 0 will be the encumbered amount.
How long do you use each cruiser?
Yeah, we're swapping out. So, for that year, that when I get my cruiser in, they're anticipating probably February. The encumbered money will go to the new cruiser. The new cruiser is a trade-in value. The old cruiser is traded in, so.
How much money do we get for the cruiser?
So I don't mean to laugh, but we were getting like 7,500, but because of now it's going into a new year, now it has more miles, it dropped down to like 42 something.
I thought we weren't gonna get rid of it, you were gonna keep it as an extra fee.
So that's what I'm doing this year. So in 2023, there's no trade-in value on that amount either, the 48, because I don't want to trade in a cruiser. I'd like to retain a cruiser, and so instead of having a 4-year shelf life on a cruiser, I'll have a 5-year, and it'll bring my fleet from 4 vehicles to 5. And I want to do that for a number of reasons. Number one, it's a safety thing, because for whatever reason, we could talk about it all day long, but there's so many factors, and I could look outside, and there's no cruiser for me to take. If something happens, we've been down cruisers where it's like we're driving our POVs to calls. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
And to put it into perspective, we're like the only PD around here that like has 4 cruisers. Everybody else has 5, 6, 7, our size. So like if you're, but do they have our yes, our size, our population, Deerfield, Northwood, everybody Raymond's smaller technically land-wise, but I'm just saying it's not something that's crazy. This should have probably been done years ago. Added one to our fleet vehicles.
So we're
Right,
not,
you're only getting, like you said, 4,200, it's worth more to us than trade-in, basically.
Right. Yeah, and so like if I retain it this year, we're not gonna get that much money for that car anyway. I'd rather keep it, so.
For backup.
and are
Right.
this like, the one the next one that would get traded in, is it like a Crown Vic type thing, or is it a big, like,
No, so we have all
SUV type thing?
4 SUVs, they're the Ford Explorers, and then that would, now the shelf life, we'll still trade one in every year, but the shelf life, like, the Cruiser, the last one will be 5 years instead of 4 years old.
I'm just wondering, Sean, when you talk about having like another vehicle just to run like chainsaws and stuff around, would there any use to just, because if we're only getting $4,000 for one of these things, just to give it to the highway department as a beater when you guys want to move stuff around? I assume they get better mileage than a truck.
Trunk off and we just throw off some
Well, he does rock one of our old Cruisers.
I mean, I'm showing up now on my repurposed cruiser with tailgate open and barricade thing. That wouldn't be a good idea.
But maybe the building inspector, that was the,
Department,
or the rec department.
You can't get a used car for $4,000.
It's gonna be fast, they're all,
On,
they get different engines in.
on line 189,
No, yeah, here we go.
what kind of things are involved in the equipment for the,
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a huge sheet, I mean, it's real technical,
well,
and,
it doesn't come with all this stuff, or you have to add?
no, when you get a Cruiser from McFarland Ford, you just get you get a vehicle,
You get a
right?
car.
And so they have to make it into a police car, so
really?
we get put in different transport seats in the back with different types of seat belts, and you get your radio for dispatch, and your lights and siren, and don't think I'm talking down or anything like that.
Oh, no.
That's just how I'm explaining it, because I'm not wicked technical. And like all your radar units and all that, so it's like soup to nuts, or like, we don't get it from McFarland Ford, like all policed out, if that makes any sense. So that's all of our equipment, and it costs a lot of money.
So do they do that, or does it get?
No,
like a
so we
specialty
use,
shop?
yeah, we go to OME, Ossipee Mountain Electronics. They have a place in Miltonboro and in Tilton. It's Northfield, but it's Tilton.
Well, that cost is going up like crazy.
It's insane. Yeah, and the point too is that there's only certain companies that make that stuff, so they've cornered the market, You're only getting like Motorola stuff, so you're paying lots of money.
So that line's gonna have to have encumbered fees as well.
No, so my equipment I've already paid for. The equipment is sitting up at OME, just sitting there with,
Okay,
with
so-
like everybody else's equipment, because it happened to them too.
So that 5664 can't be the full amount.
I don't know what you're looking at, because I don't have, are you looking at like an
Line
actual?
189.
Line 189?
Yeah, line 189 actuals.
So if you're looking at an actual for equipment,
Yep.
are you looking at office equipment? Because that's 5,600. Okay, well,
No, 189.
I don't have the sheet that you have, but I'm looking at my,
Might be in that pile right there.
my.
So
Oh, okay.
it's 10-044 is the account number.
189, 16, 27, 56 years, future actual, your proposed budget's 27.
Yeah, that can't be, that's
Yeah,
gonna be very inaccurate.
well, right,
Yeah, that's not right.
27's wrong, you mean?
No, the $7,000.
That's 56.
No, we paid more than that in like that's totally, and I don't know what that is.
So you spent 5,664 on the 23 Cruiser already. Do I read that right?
no, they spent
saying-
more.
No, this is for equipment.
No, I'm just saying they spent that much so far.
No, she said they spent more than that because they already have all the equipment,
So
that number is
all
not
those
up to date.
all the bills haven't come in then?
or something.
No, I mean, I'm looking at an actual that Betsy printed me out yesterday that goes to 11/16/2022. If you're looking at my equipment procurement and maintenance line, I have $46.13 left.
Huh?
So you spent, what, 17,500 and change?
So my question would be, what's in the 27,000 that you're proposing for this year?
That's all of the
That's
equipment
next
for the
year's equipment.
2023 Cruiser,
Yeah,
what we just talked about.
right. Right, so it was like, you have $50 left, basically,
Right, because it's all been paid out,
yeah.
because we already have the equipment for it, it's just waiting to be put in.
Yeah,
But we don't have the Cruiser yet.
I mean, this says it's as of 10:30. So,
Yeah, I'm sure that you guys have a different, not updated and,
yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
what they have is the end of October.
okay,
yep.
yeah, that makes sense.
So, all right, if stuff came in or
Right.
got paid at the end of the month or whatever.
Right. Yeah, equipment costs have gone through the roof.
Can you steal that?
I don't know how else to explain that. And I wish they didn't.
All right, so it's already been paid for this year, you have the equipment, that doesn't need to be encumbered.
That is
It's
correct.
not up to date, okay.
That is correct. So like I said, those were the three, like salary, gas, equipment. Then the justifications why they went up.
Your telephone, it's got zero and it
Here we
says
go.
paid out through town side.
Everyone has a cell phone.
Wait, let me look, hold on, what do you have?
I got it says zero paid out on town side. In the past, it's
No,
been
I
set-
think they do. I think that's one, remember you guys kept asking me last year, like, your internet, phone, and cable. I'm like, I don't know. We
I've
have
got
it.
a running list of everybody's phone bills. I'm trying to figure it
A
out.
freak with the phone. No, I think that the town takes care of that now. If that's at zero, yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Yep,
So John can probably tell me it's on some other line,
right.
and I'm wondering, it's.
We have like 8 phone lines, so there.
You got 8 phone lines.
We're zero, how did we do that?
And we're on them all the time. And a fax line. Oh my goodness. And postage, you're gonna ask me about postage? Hold on, let me look at that.
Well, no, I'm
Hold
curious.
on, yeah, no, I know, it's okay, I get it.
Well, so the town is presumably, so I think there was like telephone work done in this building last year, right? Because we had crazy telephone numbers,
Probably.
bill numbers, right? And the idea was that it's like everything's getting VoIP lines and stuff. And so your telephone line went down to 0. But then, like, rec department still has $300 telephone line, but they're in this building, so they should
Right,
be, it
yeah.
should all be under one giant telephone line for this building.
Yep.
Yeah, there's gotta be a rhyme or reason why, yeah, I totally get it. I just know I need a telephone.
Yeah.
Nah, you don't get any calls that way.
Yeah, no, we'll still get them. We carry those radios that cost $7,000. So, yeah, do you guys have any other specific questions about the budget? Did I explain it good enough? Because I know that there was concern that my budget was real high, so.
Well,
But in
last year-
comparison to
Last year
other-
you were flat, or you
Right, there you
went
go.
down, so.
I will, again, to put things in perspective, because I love to do that, like I look at other towns and I go to a lot of chiefs meetings and see what they do, and towns of this size don't operate on this low of a budget for the PD. I'm just putting that out there. Other PD's budgets around us are $800,000, $900,000. This is a very respectable, responsible, in my opinion, police budget.
$118 per person
There you go.
for safety and security.
Look at that.
Not bad.
Okay, so do you want to talk CIP, even though nobody's approved it yet and I haven't really talked to anybody about it?
Yes.
So, on CIP,
Got a cruiser, of course.
well, yeah, and it's in my budget, so I don't know why it's there. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. I'm not in accounting. Maybe it has to be there legally. I don't know. But the other thing is that Tech Capital Reserve Fund, for the first year, just trying to put a warrant article in for like $10,000. So just hear me out on it, right? So we, as on the PD side, have acquired a lot of new, honestly, stuff that costs a lot of money, a lot of equipment, our tasers, our MDTs, the mobile data terminals, the laptops that are in the cruisers. Everything that we have has a huge value to it, and if something happens to it and it breaks, like when we're using it, I'd like to be able to access funds right away to be able to replace it, because obviously, and I hate to say this, we can't be without it. The things that we have are now a necessity. Cruiser cameras, stuff like that. If something happens, I'd like some money in a reserve fund for it. Again, I'm not reinventing the wheel. Other agencies and different municipalities do the same thing. They call it different things. Some agencies, it's just called an equipment fund or whatever the case may be. I'm trying in the long run to try to be fiscally responsible and smart about the way we do it and not overburden like the taxpayers with something that, you know, is all of a sudden gonna cost like $30,000 when I can start having like a savings account for it. Does that make sense?
So this would cover like if you crash the drone?
Yes. Yes, and I would never do that because I'm not FAA certified or 107 certified. Only Officer Alvarez is because I'm not smart enough. No, I'm being serious. So does that make sense? And again, that, you know, we'll put it, if they agree to the warrant article, you know, the town will decide, so it'll be up to them.
It'd be a revolving warrant article each year.
I think so.
Does it make more sense just to put it in the budget then, if we're gonna anticipate this yearly?
You can't, the problem with putting it in the budget is you can't accumulate it year to year. She wants it to build up, so that
okay.
it's
Right.
sitting there as a savings account
Okay.
that the selectmen can vote to take money out of.
Yeah, 'cause we don't.
Sometimes called an expense.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
Instead of a capital reserve.
Yeah,
Yeah, because if we actually don't spend our total budget this year, that goes into our fund balance.
Right.
And we just take all the money that we put across, so it would have to
Yeah.
go as a warrant article as
Okay.
which would be very reasonable. I'm sure there would be no problem with that getting passed. so.
Because I know the fire department does that, because you got real big high-ticket items there.
Yeah,
like the-
yeah.
The breathing apparatuses and stuff. Does the police department have like big high-ticket items? Like the drone is probably 8,000 if you got thermal on it.
Yep,
So
that's
it'd be-
exactly how much it was, yeah. So like I said, the tasers, the drone, you know, even radar units, if one of them went down, they're very high price. And so, you know, and like a radio or just something, and, you know, obviously, like, I'm trying to, you know, as I took over, like, put plans in place to have monies for these items, but I just thought that this was a smart way, like, if, you know, I was just like my person doing my, I would have a savings account like this for myself, you know, so.
And does this get capped at some amount?
I mean, it probably should,
asking
yeah,
for it,
no,
I
and
guess.
I think it'll be used, so there would be no way that it's gonna get like crazy, if that makes any sense, so, you know, when I need it, I'll take from it, and I think that in the long run, it'll save people money, so. And then, the only other thing, and I wasn't, gonna request the warrant article this year, but if this is something, it would be a warrant article. My MDTs, my mobile data terminals on my cruisers, they have like a 3 to 5 year shelf life, and we're coming up, on that like shelf life, and, you know, in 2024 would be when I would want to swap them out and get new ones. There is a highway safety grant, so I can get $10,000 back from it. So the total cost, I think, is probably like 18 grand, but that could go in a warrant article.
These are the ones that we approved on a warrant
It
article like
is.
3-4 years ago?
Exactly, yeah, they're the ones that were approved in 2019. The Patrol PC, you know, flat screen computers or whatever, the tough books or whatever. And we would just be going for an upgraded model. We're still gonna use Patrol PC. They're very good. And yeah, so I just wanted to give everybody a heads up about that.
Would
That's
it make
my
sense
plan.
to just combine that with the Tech Capital Reserve Fund? I mean, if they're expected to only last 3 to 5 years on average.
Yeah, and so
you
in
could
theory,
average it
that's,
into that.
I mean, that's what that money will be used for, and for stuff like that. I mean, yeah, the first year, you know, if we wanna, I mean, this year though, it would be like really getting that fund up to, you know, maybe asking for 15, because by next year, I'd still need a little bit more money, if that made any sense.
That makes sense.
Well, it saves us 10 minutes at.
Yeah,
at
like
town
you
meeting to
guys are
have
the
one
budget committee,
article.
you like figure all the mathematics out, I'm just shooting ideas out there.
Now, isn't each cruiser a year different in terms of age?
Yeah, so yep,
That equipment doesn't have the same age on it.
Right.
depending on- So you could actually do, you know what I'm saying?
But they
Yeah,
bought
yeah.
them all at
You
once,
could do
right?
one car at a
Because we
time.
didn't have it.
the MDTs were bought all at once, yeah,
Oh, they were,
yeah, they were, yeah, and,
I'm
but with
thinking-
everything else, you're right,
Do
just so
they
you know.
fail all at once?
What's that?
Do they fail all at once?
They're all
buy
pretty
one new one
much
a year?
starting to glitch and do the same kind of things,
Is it
so.
a thing where, like, if you're buying new ones, they're gonna be different than the old ones, and then
It's an upgraded model,
it's
yes.
gonna be confusing for the officers if they get in one car and it's got
Yeah,
the old one and they
yeah,
go to
it'll
the
be
next one?
totally, it'll be a little bit different,
Makes
absolutely.
more sense to do them all
Yep.
at once.
They're laptops, you said, basically, right?
They're laptops, yep.
Books.
So,
With very expensive software, I'm assuming.
Extremely expensive. They're built for police officers and how we do business and driving around in cruisers and getting banged and flipped and switched and have, you know, just the software in them because they have to be safe and secure and have different things that like, they can't be easily, I mean, again, I'm not like super cyber smart, but you know, like corrupted and they're a big deal.
And this is for 4 or 5?
4, it would be 4, yeah.
You're too tough on yourself.
well, you would need a fifth,
Eventually, I will need a fifth, yes.
I'm just trying to think of if you did it basically as the cruiser, part of the cruiser equipment, and if it would last 5 years. I know that, yeah.
Yeah, and so some agencies do that. When they outfit the new cruiser, they just automatically, you know, put like a new MDT in it or whatever.
Right.
This is something new for us, so I'm trying to get like what I will do and what makes sense. And, you know, I'm inventing the wheel here in Nottingham, so to speak, so it's a lot of moving parts.
Right, because I'm just trying to think of ease, because then if you're buying a group of them every so many years, then you're putting new ones in old cars, and then moving an old one to a new car. So it would probably make more sense if you could,
Well, it makes more sense to buy them in bulk because I get a grant for them.
yeah, and maybe, okay, so, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just things to consider.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
No, you did a good job.
Thank you.
Do you guys bring in revenue with like when we drive around with construction sites, right? And they have the cops sitting there, like they're legally required to be at the construction site or something, right?
Yeah, like a detail officer.
Yeah,
So
and
people
does-
don't crash or like kill
When,
people.
when
Yeah,
the construction, whoever's doing the construction, they pay the town,
they do.
right? So
Yep.
is that revenue that would get
The,
put into like anticipated revenue?
the town, and I can kind of speak to this, in theory, makes no money. I mean, they pay the officer, and then they pay the money for the, you know, fuel costs and to have the cruiser there, so. But, I mean, do you guys know anything specific about,
I'm just looking for ways for you to
I
up
don't-
the anticipated
right.
revenue, John.
Yeah, my question is, I don't know, do you have, a lot of towns have set up a revolving fund, not unlike the rec fund, for outside detail.
yeah, it's in,
I don't know if you do it that way.
yeah, too bad Betsy left when, so it's the PD special duty revolving. But I don't know what,
If it's in your budget, it's not revolving.
oh, okay, then, yeah, then
Well-
maybe that's, yeah.
Right, no, right, so that's,
Right.
the line is zero.
So it goes into revenue and
Yeah.
offsets the line. I couldn't answer the question because there's two ways
Yeah.
to do it, and I don't know which way to do it.
You guys get a lot of calls to Pawtuckaway during the summer?
We do, Michael. We get a lot of calls to Pawtuckaway during the summer. What would you like to know? So in the summertime, there's a lot of campsites there, and a lot of people use the beach, and it is a heavy populated area. And so when you have heavy populated area and you have people, you have, I hate to say it because it sounds bad, problems. And that could be a wide variety of things, right?
A lot
Like,
of drinking, whatever.
yeah, but little things like people, you know, getting locked out of their car or leaving their kid in the car and the car is locked. I mean, we respond to 911 calls to Pawtuckaway State Park on a daily, weekly basis in the summertime.
Yeah,
Do you get anything from the state?
No, so I mean, no, because the state park is in the town of Nottingham. We can't pick and choose who take, you know, we own it, so to speak, right? We inherited the state park, so
we
if you're
don't-
asking if there's,
get the revenue.
if there's any other, like, you know, other services don't go in there. The state police do not cover Pawtuckaway. Fish and Game, even though they'll say they do not cover, they'll go there, like, if we request them, and I hate to say it, I've been on the department for 15 years. Jay Volchek and the Nottingham Fire Department, they can find you. We've never not found somebody. We've requested Fish and Game just as sometimes, like, I hate to say this, like a CYA, so like, if it's a really big search and it's gone on for a long time, because Fish and Game can come after people and kind of like charge them with things if they weren't properly equipped to be out there and yada, yada, yada. But, you know, Pawtuckaway State Park is our baby, and we have to deal with it, whether we like it or not, and I don't know anything about monetary revenue or who pays. I'm just saying I get paid by the town of Nottingham, I wear the Nottingham badge, I wear a Nottingham patch. If something happens at that state park, I'm going to it.
We just heard that the Pawtuckaway State Park is the second biggest moneymaker for the state park
I-
system next to Hampton Beach.
Yes, I would
So they're
agree with
making
that.
lots of
They're
money.
making a
Is there
lot of
reason-
money.
Is there a reason the state police don't handle it?
Nothing.
I don't know if there's a reason, I just know that they don't.
Being there.
And I'm not, like,
That's a good question for our new state rep.
there you go. I agree, I second that, here, here. No, that really is. That's a question for your representatives.
All right.
Your people in Congress that make the rules.
make the change.
Right.
Yep,
Hey, Tom,
exactly.
Yes.
don't we have a contract every year with the state park though for like
Yeah.
coverage on weekends?
Yeah, and so we do. We have a special detail at the state park. So for the 4th of July, to get officers there because it's a real busy day. People love to use the beach and stuff like that. And then weekend coverage. So for like, you know, it's gone down because of COVID, but you know, for like 6 weeks out of the summer, you know, Saturday and Sunday, 4-hour shifts, like from 4 to 8, they say, because the beach is open till 7. They pay the state of New Hampshire pays for a police officer to be down there, special duty, you know, covering that area, and basically, you know, handling.
Money off it, it's basically they're paying.
No, we don't make any money off of that. We just, you know, we actually have to fill the details, and I mean, sometimes I hate to say, we're so shorthanded, we can't fill them, so it's like outside agencies coming in, like Raymond and Deerfield and Northwood covering, Pawtuckaway State Park, for safety, because somebody needs to be there, because we get called there. And we can't pick and choose who our patrons are, so. Make sense? I know. But you're always trying to find ways to make money, Tom, and I like that. We do get, I want to also say too, like, you know, we do, like, you asked a lot about donations. The police department does, like, at the end of the year, probably just like other departments, get Christmas donations of like $200, $300. We love those donations. People in TV land, thank you so much. But obviously, I specifically use those for equipment that I never budgeted for that we need, things that we need, and I always write those, and they know it. I write those kind people a letter telling them exactly what I use the money for. So, that's important.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Sorry to keep you here so late. Watch out for deer when you're driving home, because they're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're getting moved around by the hunters.
Oh dear.
Everywhere except where I am.
They're moving away from you. Alright. Yeah, I don't see why we need anything else.
He wants to make a deal, you know?
All right, we don't have anything on committees, right?
Motion to adjourn.
Well, the bad news though is
Do we need to just wait?
John needs to find 146,000 to cut.
Do we need to discuss
Oh,
this?
no.
Well, we do.
This committee
Yeah.
has to help us find
Oh, we'll help you.
We just.
I already
we
have
just found a bunch.
45 easy.
Yeah.
I'm sure Tom, I know we, I can't wait to see your notes.
Did you
Yeah.
calculate the actual cap amount? The cap is not 4% of this.
So,
That's
You guys
the
calculated?
really tricky part. That's why I've been asking about increasing revenue, because I know.
Our revenue, we did get some numbers today as of the end of last month, and our revenue is going to be down from where it was last year.
Just because we're not getting the special state money, or what?
I don't know, I only, literally, the numbers just came over this
Alright.
afternoon, so I haven't got a chance to go look at them, we haven't got a chance to talk about them.
Because that's
I
weird.
use that COVID.
Unless it's like nobody's getting new
But I
cars.
don't know,
COVID
we
money
still
is
have 2 more months to go, so we don't know, I mean, exactly,
Yeah.
or we're gonna break even, but we're not gonna be in a large surplus of, extra money.
The
So-
COVID
so the
money goes
fi-
as unanticipated, that's not
the fire department, budget with the $300,000, that $300,000 should only be $75,000.
The fire department?
Yeah, line.
Yeah, they totally botched.
Where's that?
Yeah, because what that does, it increases. Huh? Right, right, it
Throws your numbers
increases,
off. Like, your total doesn't match your default.
Where are you?
right, that's $225,000 extra on the last year's budget that really shouldn't be there.
Every year we'll work it out, but
John, I
Line
totally.
201,
we are trying very hard.
201.
I totally missed it. 201. Yeah, I was wondering about 203, the FR stipend. It just says 40,000, 40,000, but then it goes like zero's been spent and zero is.
That's the stipend for the volunteers that they have every
What are
year.
you saying
They
about that line
don't
item?
pay it out until
It
the
should
end
only
of
be
the year.
75,000.
Oh, okay.
For,
They
Gotcha.
divide it up, they divide the same amount
Yeah.
that
Oh,
they
you mean
have up
with a
amongst the
300, it should be
volunteers that earned it.
75?
So,
Based on how many
It gets
calls.
paid out at the end of the year. That's why it's not on the actuals. Cool.
Yeah.
We did not go over the election, the supervisors, the checklist.
He wasn't here.
So we have a
Just take
motion
it
and a
on-
second to adjourn.
All in favor?
Trust me, we have
I guess
plenty more meetings
we'll
coming up.
discuss this at the next one, I
Just
guess.
take it home and read it.
10:20, let's,
Take it home and read it. All right, we have a motion and a second. So the motion was made by John, Warren, and Carol. Oh, John, you seconded, and Carol made the motion. Okay. All right, all in favor?
Okay, good night.
Any opposed? All right.